We are currently deep in the trenches of virtue's last reward, Andrew.
It's a very deep hole. And I kind of hope someone buries us alive in it, so I don't have to like walk out and remember it afterwards.
Is this the series you're gonna like retire on your YouTube channel? It's like once we finish the Zero Escape trilogy, we just take Sonic back and shoot him behind the shed, and then delete the channel. It's over. It's a
very compelling idea because wow, Zero Escape is just the worst. What do you...
it just switched away from the email client being open all of a sudden.
Did it?
And I'm like, what the fuck happened behind us just now?
I guess Chrome opened up.
That was a weird moment.
There you go.
Okay. Well, we're professional and focused.
Yeah.
Squirrel.
So, do you want to start off with questions, or do you want to just...
I don't really have topics. I don't really have a new topic necessarily. We were thinking of doing a podcast for
Ready Player One.
Yeah, like a spoiler cast for Ready Player One because the movie's out and I have gift cards for local theater, but they fuck up and they don't stagger the times at all.
Yeah.
So it's like all the showings that are 11, then it's like all the showings are like 3, and then like 6 and shit like that. It's like they're so spaced out that it's like it's actually like really bad for our schedule to try to find out how to make a fit a showing in another town because I have gift cards for a theater that's not in the town that either of us live in.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is just a pain in the ass. How did I even get these?
Yeah, it's all around just not great. So so we're not doing that.
Nope. Instead, we're just bemoaning we're just getting ready to go back into Zero Escape again today like we do every week. And I'm having fun with it, but also wow.
I can't. Okay, so
there's a lot of wow going on.
I feel like it's disingenuous of me to say I'm having fun with it. I'm not having fun with Zero Escape. I'm having fun making fun of Zero Escape.
Well, yeah, I'm having fun the way that we have fun with 999.
But like Zero Escape is not fun. It is incredibly boring, and I think
it was interesting how people thought. There was definitely some people who thought that it was going to be like this amazing right turn into like sudden quality after 999.
Yeah.
And then we echoed those ideas out to the audience at one point, I think during 999 even. And then that's when people started going, what? Someone said that? No.
Yeah.
And that seems to be accurate to our experience so far is some real baffling stuff. So look forward to that.
God.
Let's look at questions.
So we have a question here. It's have you guys ever considered playing Kingdom Hearts as a co-op series, or just one of you play it? Greetings again from South Africa. That was from Maddie.
I remember liking Kingdom Hearts when I was like 12.
Okay.
The first game. And I was like, this seems neat. I never beat it.
Oh, really?
It's just like I think I made it as far as... I think I might have made it even as far as the part where like you're in Beauty and the Beast world.
Okay.
Which is like, I think that's when you're temporarily a Heartless for a bit. And it's like, oh no, we're in the dark middle chapter or something. And it's just... It wasn't... It's from an era where I was less likely to beat stuff in general because I was sharing video games with my brother.
Yeah.
So like RPGs were like hard to get through.
Yeah, because you had to share it. Yeah.
But I whenever I look at it now and I'm like, I don't...
It just doesn't hit your fancy.
Look good.
Oof, that's a bad thing to say, Keith.
It does.
Kingdom Hearts is a classic, timeless legacy of amazingness. It has all the Disney that you could ever want and all the Final Fantasy.
So let's start with that first of all. Like the story part is like, here's some random crap that's just being reused from Disney and reused from Final Fantasy stuff. The Ready Player One of video games, if you will. But then there's the part that they make up themselves, which is like the society or whatever, their organization, I think they're called.
The organization.
There's people.
Organization 13.
They're gonna go do things or something.
They're trying to like.
And we gotta stop them or help them or something. And
it starts out as stopping.
Sometimes you're a blonde kid and sometimes you're not, like Earthbound. What's amazing to me is I played so much of the first Kingdom Hearts game back then. And also I went and I played the one that has the impossible to remember name that's just numbers and bullshit.
Yeah.
And I played that for a while on the DS because I was like, oh, I'm going to play an RPG on my DS. Look at this new adventure. And I hated it because it hurts to play a DS for like a third-person adventure RPG thing.
Yeah.
But I realized that even after playing both those games to a fair extent, but never quite beating either of them, I can't tell you what the plot of the Kingdom Hearts franchise is, or what anyone's trying to accomplish, or what the goal, what's happening in them.
Keith, it's about saving the multiverse from Heartless.
Like in the Numbers game, because that's all I can call it, they were just sitting around and eating sea salt ice cream. And it was like some sort of budding relationship between these two dudes that are just are in this organization, I guess.
Oh, you're talking about 365 days?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think it's 65, though. That'd make too much sense. It's a dumb number.
Or it's like, oh no, isn't it
it's like 380 something, I want to say. Like 387 over 2 days.
Yeah.
It's like, what the fuck is that number? And every time I try to even I also played Chain of Memories. I think I did beat Chain of Memories.
Oh, okay.
It's the only one I beat, I think, which is also the most fun I've ever had with the Kingdom Hearts game, because it was a side-scrolling deck building.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's the card one,
I'm like,
right?
this is neato.
Yeah.
I was like, I feel like I was thinking about what I was doing, whereas when I played the first Kingdom Hearts and Days, you kind of just hit the attack button, flail at people. Yeah. It's like Final Fantasy 15.
Yeah,
Final Fantasy 15 just has floppy, brain dead combat.
Like Kingdom Hearts 1 was more showy and had more focus on it, whereas Days was more about like, let's lore build, and you're like, I don't really necessarily care all that much. It's like, no, you should, and it starts going to like a lot of stuff that you're like, I think the original Kingdom Hearts was simple enough. Can we just keep it that way? I want to just enjoy it.
It is interesting seeing all the sequels be about some kind of organization that's like not even mentioned in the first game.
It is.
Like,
they show up.
Several like. But like, is it like the ending though? Like
no.
Like, I don't think they were. I can't remember them being relevant.
Yeah, they
was
were
like
relevant.
there was like a bad guy.
That was,
which I don't remember if he was in the organization or not.
Yeah, he was.
And then there was Dude Bro. There was Sasuke.
Riku. Yeah,
you were playing as Naruto, and you had best buddy Sakura next to you, and then oh no, Sasuke's gone dark and is leaving, and we gotta go get him back. What's happening? And then like all I can remember is every single mission was go to some planet, deal with some Heartless because they're there too again. Best bros Donald and Goofy are going to be there to also be there, and maybe you'll get a glimpse of Riku again, and he'll be like, I don't believe in love or something, and then walk away. And it's like, and I think that was the loop more.
No,
or less.
It was. I think it was Destiny. I think he didn't believe in Destiny.
I just mean like I was just going on the trope of like friendship, guys, and the one guy's like, not friendship. Like that's the storyline that always happens when there's like the dark or gray haired character that wanders off and they're all stoic and bitter, and the friendship people have to get him back or something.
Yeah, it's pretty common whenever you see like two guys and a girl. Your high chances are that the two guys are going to go on some epic friendship bonding quest to save one of them.
Yeah.
And the girl is just going to be like,
I'm here.
Like, good job. Go for it. Please don't kidnap me and use me as bait as some kind of means for the final battle. Oh no, you did. Thanks.
It's remarkable how like the primary positive feeling I can remember about Kingdom Hearts is the theme song.
When you walk away, you don't hear me say, please. Oh, baby, don't go. Simple and clean is the way that you're making me feel tonight. It's hard to let it go.
Jesus. Are you okay? Is the Cardboard Kingdom Hearts still over here? Like, you know, I'm just seeing your Cardboard Kingdom Hearts just sitting around all the time because you had the special edition collection.
Oh, yeah.
You had both. I bought 1.5 HT Remix. I was like, maybe I'll play this one day, and I just didn't. And I was like, well, I better not buy 2.5 or 3.5 or 2.9, 2.8.
Yeah, 2.8.
Which, by the way, that's kind of a turnoff for the franchise. Like, I might be more willing to try the franchise again if there was just 2 games, 1 and 2.
Yeah.
And it didn't go completely up its own ass. But now there's 17 different wacky spin-off games and bizarreness things. But then there's even the most confusing HD collections ever.
Yes.
Of the several games, including ones where they're like, that game is so unworthy of playing, we made it a movie.
That's Days.
Yeah, they did that to Days, and they did that to Chain of Memories became RE Chain of Memories, which became RE Chain of Memories International Edition, which became RE Chain of Memories International Edition HD.
Yep.
Which I'm like, fuck you. Also, the best version was still the one that was cards, so fuck you again. Somehow that's not in the HD collection, the one that was fun. No. I want to attack with a deck. That was fun. You built a weird deck and you'd attack with it. It was weird. It was super weird.
Yeah, it was weird.
And they're like, we can't have those ideas. We need to have everything be about whacking people with the same Keyblade forever. Let's make 7 more games.
Isn't that?
They're all going to be budget. They're going to be all budget handheld games.
You're acting like this literally isn't Square Enix's MO. Like, this is all they do is just like, I got the mechanics down. Let's make 12 of these forever.
That is one of the top things. Is like if it's a Square Enix game. That's like the first strike against a JRPG for me.
Is that it's Square Enix?
Yeah.
Jesus.
It's like if I'm gonna play a JRPG, there's 2 things I don't want it to be.
Yeah.
I don't want it to be Square Enix.
Okay.
And I don't want it to be Spike Chunsoft.
What, you're really limiting the factors here of the best RPGs of all time.
No. No.
Based on a lot of people's lists.
We're gonna go find some weird shit like, I don't know, like Atlas or something, or like whatever, or just the weird things, like whatever Lost Dimension was. That was neat. Did I tell you about that game?
What about Legends of Dragoon?
Is that Square Enix?
What about Luna?
I mean, that's a dead franchise.
Luna, I think, I think Luna completed.
Luna? Well, I mean, when I say Dragon's dead, I mean like as in like it's been gone for like 30 years. it's I could go repurchase the same $7 ROM on PS3 again, but like it's not. I mean, like it's not an ongoing thing that keeps coming back. For me, it's just like Square Enix can't tell stories I attach to.
I mean, it's kind of hard to when like the first 30 minutes.
They're RPGs.
Yeah, but the first 30 minutes is like just them making up words.
Oh, you're thinking of 13 in particular?
Yes.
13, where they're like, we got the Fauci's got to see the seeth, and I'm like, what are all the words you're saying? And I'm like, I don't know, but lightning's jumping through a train in slow motion, fighting some guards. So she's a crystal now, and jump out of the cocoon. We gotta seeth the cocoon for the Eidolons. And I'm like, the fuck is happening?
I remember I was like so taken aback by like what I was like. I remember watching CeeLo playing it, and I was like, wait, did I miss something? Like, wait, is that...
Nope, the game expects you to just pause and open the glossary and read what the words mean.
But he didn't do that. He just, like, kept going and not caring, and I was like, wait, no, what? Who is the LC?
And if you don't know what the words mean, you literally don't know what the story is.
Yeah, I was like, who is anybody?
Because
like,
there's some sort of whole thing where there are some kind of deities that are literally cities, apparently.
Yes.
Which create crystal warriors called the Sea that have a specific mission, and if they don't complete the mission, then I honestly can't tell you for sure which words are which. I think they become Seeth if they fail, which is just all the monsters in the world, which are already, you're like, these deities are fucked up because they made a lot of monsters. or if they succeed, they turn into a crystal person, and then they just are a crystal now, which is what happens to her sister immediately.
Yes.
But then I guess that's not permanent because she's the protagonist of the next game, so it's even more confusing.
Well, no, she gets freed.
Because he plays Lightning's sister in the second game because Lightning's in Valhalla or something. I'm like, I hate you. I hate you. What the fuck is she in, like, some sort of horsey Valhalla place flying around with the land, seemingly not doing anything there? She seems to just...
What are you talking about, dude? Did you see that horse she rode on? It was awesome.
Like, I didn't beat 13, but years later, I finally watched the cutscenes for the rest of it just to try to piece together what the fuck that was, where that was going. Because for me, one thing in particular is I hit the point where you defeat Evil Pope Man.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, cool, I beat the boss. Roll credits. And they're like, no, that's just the beginning. Now it's the real thing starting. I'm like, there's no story left. And then after that, they introduce new story from scratch. That's the rest of the game. Yeah. That was not built up at all until then.
No, because there's like a second
planet. It's like something orphan. And I'm like, I don't care. I was like, I beat the bad guy that's the source of all oppression in the world. We did it. And they're like, but we said orphan now. We name dropped the final boss. You got to go deal with that now. I'm like,
it's kind of like Sin if they didn't talk about him.
Yeah, if Sin didn't attack every city throughout all of Final Fantasy X, and they're like, by the way, you got to fight Sin now. It's like, what?
Because if you fought Seymour, you would have been like, I guess we're done here. And then they would be like, but what about Sin? And you're like, I don't care. Or
Unalesca.
Unalesca. Sin was like clearly.
Unalesca was the closest thing to like an emotional moment really in 10 was finding out Auron's like secrets. and how the whole quest is fucked up and everything.
Yeah. I don't know.
It's also the most tedious fight ever because it's like a 2-hour fight of just hitting a person that doesn't really fight back very much.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess I just hated Seymour so much. He just
Seymour is the best antagonist.
He's just like such a piece of shit. Where you just want to punch him in the face every time a cutscene happens.
He's a fucking creepazoid too because he wants to like he wants to just kidnap your summoner so he can marry her. Yeah. And it's like, what the fuck is your problem, man?
And he gets like really close to her all the time.
It's such a weird cross motivation that totally is separate from the main story, and it just keeps happening to like Team Rocket getting your Pikachu, except this Pikachu is vagina.
Yeah, he is he's really attached to this like idea that he's going to fuck Yuna. Like, he's so methodical about it. Like, every time a cutscene happens and she's there, he gets, like, super close to her, and he's like, and he's got the you will be mine.
And he's got the creepy BDSM fish summon, so it's even weirder at that point.
Oh, yeah.
He won't close he's got this Hugh Hefner thing going on where he won't close his fucking robe, and he's just walking around all open.
Yes,
and
he has, like, a perfect slit.
And he summons this creepy slave person covered in chains.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm like, what the fuck are you? How do you get your hair shaped that way? Nobody.
Oh yeah, Seymour's hair is like ridiculous. Like it's some kind of fucking. It's like a mustache but on your head. And I was like, what's happening, Seymour?
His hair looks like bug mandibles in a way that nobody else in that game does. Everyone else has normal ass hair. Like
even Waka has like acceptable
Waka's hair is just up.
Yeah,
it's a little long at one point, but that's about it. And Riku's just has like her hair tied down. Yuna just has generic Japanese hair.
It's just as a bob. Like a basic, like it goes to here, it's a little long in the back.
Titus just is greasy. Is basically his hairstyle. It's fine, whatever. I think that's one thing. Is that if I was going to go back and try to replay an older PS2 era Square Enix game, I'd probably go for Final Fantasy X more than a Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah, because
like Final Fantasy X, I can delve into all this weird stuff, like all the stuff that goes over my head as a kid, like how like there's the rapiness of Sephiroth. I mean Seymour, who's just Sephiroth,
who's not Sephiroth.
Not Sephiroth. He's just it's just the same design concepts repeated again and iterated again, just like in Final Fantasy 13-2, where they had Native American Sephiroth. He's Sephiroth, but he's a feather in his hair and he's vengeful of time maidens. The fuck?
Didn't you fight him in some kind of like weird time zone?
I don't know.
I don't know. I think you fight him in some weird like time is falling apart zone, and I was like, how did we get here? What happened to the crystals? Like, I thought we were dealing with crystals.
All I know is that I played Final Fantasy X was one of my first RPGs I ever played.
Really?
Yeah, then I played Kingdom Hearts later, because it was later, right?
Yeah.
And one of those games beat the other one on lasting impact, as far as my memories go. So I feel like Kingdom Hearts just doesn't seem that interesting.
I feel like
nothing about its universe or world or characters seems like it's that interesting, and the combat seems really like Square Enix real-time combat, which is that it has like almost every Square Enix game that's an RPG with real-time combat has like no depth.
No,
you're kind of just button mashing through it, and it's like, I beat the thing. It's like, yay! Oh, you didn't beat the thing? Go grind more is usually the answer, as opposed to you should have dodged. Like it's not Dark Souls where it's like I did this and this and I duck and weave. Like if I when I was playing Type 0 and I lost at something, I was like, oh, I have to go to the training coliseum. And I have to send them in the training coliseum. Then I have to send my in-game clock to tomorrow so they'll finish their training. Because I was just using the fucking console to just change what time it was.
Yeah.
Because they had an in-game mechanic like that.
Those are my favorite, by the way.
I don't know if I've ever played a Square Enix game that had fun real-time combat that felt like I was paying attention or had to.
I'm trying to think.
But also their stories have been so up their own asses for a while now that like...
Yeah.
Have they made a decent story since 10?
10-2.
10-2 might be alright. I remember 10-2 is weirdly charming because 10 is so self-serious.
Yeah.
And it's so self-important.
Yeah.
And 10-2 is like, just Charlie's Angels. Yeah. So I'm like, sure, alright.
That was the first thing I said when CeeLo brought the great game home on PS2.
Yeah.
He was like, they came out with a new Final Fantasy. I was like, why is Charlie Angels?
Oh man, when did they add Drew Barrymore to to Final Fantasy?
I mean, granted, I'll say, like, Riku is the best character ever invented, but like... It's just the fact that there's literally the mechanic for that game is you play as the three girls, and the way that you change stances is you like change costumes.
Yes,
and like there's one stance where you're just wearing.
What they later did for 13.
Yeah, but like
the same the same combat system of like, look, they're changing classes on the fly. I'm like, I've played this before.
But the problem is that all the costumes are clearly like, they're not practical costumes.
No.
It's clearly just someone going like, what if we put Yuna in a tiger outfit? And I'm like, okay, stop right there.
I'm gonna get you.
This is not okay. Like, this is not, like, we just defeated Sin, guys. Let's take this a little seriously. Like, for fuck's sake.
And you have Team Rocket chasing you around, and they want to go find Tidus, but you could change his name in the last game, so every single time they talk about him, they're like, it's him!
Yeah.
In like the cutscene, because they just refer to him as pronouns.
Yeah.
He's the pronouns protagonist from the previous game.
God. I mean, I will say, like, yeah, 10-2 is probably the last time I watched a Final Fantasy game being played and going like...
You just watched CeeLo play all of them, didn't you?
Yes.
You're like,
I will not. I will not play.
I will not dirty my hands with the JRPGs.
No. Well, not Final Fantasy games, no. I know better.
Yeah.
I played Final Fantasy Online, I'll admit that, but I never played a main baseline Final Fantasy before. I've watched all of them be played by CeeLo.
Damn.
It was easier that way.
I don't think I beat 10 either.
Really?
I think I made it to the Sin fight.
Oof.
Like, literally there.
It is the hardest fight.
It's a giant, super long mega fight that also has a one-shot kill that happens at one point. And I'm like, I don't have time for this. I said as a 10-year-old.
I said as a 10-year-old.
Like, that was one of the first times as a kid I was like, I don't have time for this.
Yeah.
In a game. And it's like, those overblown fights are a bit excessive. I probably wouldn't even mind it now, because I'm like, I got this.
Also, it's not as bad as you think it is. As a kid, probably
my
fucked up
problem
a lot.
is as a kid, I had a strategy guide. I had the giant strategy guide for Brandy Games or Prima or whatever the fuck Prima. That has all the concept art, and it's like a beautiful piece of publication to go with the game. Because I used to just play games with strategy guides as a kid.
Yeah,
like I had one for Jedi Power Battles. A game that's
unnecessary.
That's a brawler.
Yeah,
it's like but I had it. I just de facto we would just have the strategy guide.
This is like having a strategy guide for Streets of Rage, and you're like, do you need this? Like, just go left or go right.
I think part of it was trading off video games with your sibling. It was good to have an additional video game related thing that you just had around all the time. I might have had a Pokemon Stadium strategy guide.
That's necessary,
because
unlocking
doesn't make sense.
No, but it does.
It really should just be a Pokemon Blue strategy guide.
Yeah, but it does help unlock some of the mini games and some of the other stuff. But that's about it. Other than that, like the only reason I even own Pokemon Stadium.
I might even still have my Final Fantasy X strategy guide because it's just so fucking massive and full of nice art that like I might have kept it.
Probably kept it. CeeLo had the ones for 13 and 13.2, and it was ungodly big.
Was the strategy guide go forward?
No, the strategy guide.
I say as if 10 wasn't also a hallway like 13.
Like they're so thick.
Yes.
They're so thick, and it's
they gotta justify their existence, so they gotta keep going. We're gonna beat the internet. We're gonna have too much shit.
It's so thick it has a bookmark built into it. I was
interesting.
I was upset because I watch him and he would like put the bookmark and he's like, I'm at this point, and I was like, that is absurd. That's absurd that this strategy guide is so big it has to come with a bookmark so you can go, right, I'm here, because this game is like 150 hours of shit if you want to complete it.
For me, I think kind of an issue is that, like, I think Final Fantasy in particular is way too into plot.
I think it's too fantasy.
As opposed to characters.
And not enough final.
Well, like, I like the Western RPG approach, where you have a party of characters that all interact and stuff like that, and that's, like, the heavy focus of the game, and you're also doing a mission.
Yeah, I mean, I would say 13 does that, but the problem with 13 is that 13, everyone is on their own mission.
Yeah, like, it kind of doesn't do that at the same time. Like, you don't really interact, but also, like, they get so plot heavy that, like...
That's not true. Lightning and snow.
So much of each game is kind of just about dealing with the big, bad, crazy thing that's happening.
Yeah.
Which is mostly involves basically just punching God in every game. Like, you kind of just go punch God, and then it's like, we fixed the world now, or it's maybe someone cries.
You're either, like, punching God, or you're punching someone who wants to become God.
Like, the struggle, the thing you're facing off against is so not appreciable. It's like, you're just beating a deity or something at a thing, or whatever. And usually unfortunately, the character development and interactions usually takes a backseat to the God punching part. With, like, peak level of that being Type 0 was a game where you had, like, 14 characters.
Yeah.
And you were swapping any 3 of them in and out for each mission and stuff like that. And like none of them were people.
No,
like,
they
each
were.
one was a character type. Where they would just shout their one personality trait over and over again. Like, I'm Jack. I'm aloof. Have you heard how aloof I am? Notice how aloof I am.
Yeah.
I have a sword. And that's their whole character.
That's pretty much what a lot of... Yeah, that's what... Well, the more characters you get, the less care you have to put into them.
Yeah.
And Square Enix is...
But also, they don't know how to make a... On top of the character thing, they don't know how to make it so that the actual thing you're going to be doing at the end of the game feels like it had anything to do with the rest of the game.
Yeah.
This is something that happened in 13, and it happened in Type 0, and it happened in 15.
I was going to say 15 felt like that a lot. Like, I remember once...
Yeah, 15 was almost what I wanted.
Yeah.
15 is all about going on road trips with your pals, and that seems to be what the game is supposed to be.
I thought that's what it was.
But you realize that, oh shit, the story's been on pause this entire time. I've literally just been not doing the story.
Yeah.
Then the moment you do the story, you're like, yeah, by the way, you can't go to the open world anymore, and also your friends are sad and angry, and they're all bad now, and also you can't, and they're separated from you half the time, and also here's go punch God.
Yeah.
And also time skips, and also God punching in the future, and God punching in the past, and can you tell what's happening? I don't know what's happening. I'm like, can I go back to taking selfies with Prompto? That was the fun part.
I specifically remember watching 15, and I remember seeing the point when I guess spoilers for anybody who's never seen 15 before, when is it a spoiler? I don't know.
I don't know. I covered it on my channel, and it's infuriating.
It's basically when
this game story is actually infuriating.
Yeah, once the girl dies, I was like, so we go home now?
I was like, isn't the whole point to get married? Like, oh, she's dead. I guess we're done now.
And then Nox is like, I'm gonna go kill that guy. He literally needs you to become God. Don't go to him, you idiot.
But first of all, clearly you doing everything you do in the game is his plan.
Yes.
But also, the game fails to even tell you your mission.
Yeah. Your mission was just get married, and once that gets checked off, the game just goes like...
They're like, by the way, you're supposed to get all the powerful... You're supposed to be the Avatar and get all the elements together and become the super god.
Well, no, you're supposed to
punch evil god.
You're supposed to get all the kings
the game
together.
Kind of doesn't tell you.
No,
especially if you're not doing any of the extended universe of the movie and the cartoon. Well, I did watch the cartoons, which weren't helpful.
No, those animes.
In fact, when you find out stuff about Prompto and stuff, you're like that about the plot twists about certain characters. I'm like, does this even match what I saw in the anime?
No.
Can that even be the same person? I'm actually kind of confused now.
The movie that came out before.
Also, the anime looks like it takes place in modern suburban Japan.
Yeah,
which is confusing.
The movie that came out beforehand was at least a little bit more helpful because it's...
Which I haven't seen still.
Really?
No.
It's
not easily available anywhere. You just have to go out and buy it from scratch.
Have to buy it,
They don't give it to you for pre-ordering the game or anything like they should.
CeeLo got it because he bought the special edition that came with it.
But I didn't. I'm not gonna pay for mega versions of the game.
Well, I mean,
it's bullshit.
No, I think that's
they're already
stupid.
asking for a $30 season pass or some shit.
Yeah.
Which is this makes you progress faster. This game's pay to win now. Yay!
But also, here's some cool outfits.
Here's the DLC chapters that were clearly carved out of the game, so that where every character has to discreetly leave the party for a bit, so they can have a DLC chapter later they can charge you for.
Yep.
That makes the story make more sense, but actually doesn't. Maybe.
No.
Do you like the part where every character dies off camera? So your dad dies off camera, and your kingdom dies off camera, but then the antagonist dies off camera, but then the kingdom you're going to, that is the antagonist kingdom, also dies off camera. Then the next villain dies off camera, and also more side characters die off camera, and then eventually you punch Arden in the face. And you're like, I found you. You're on camera now. You're on candid camera, bitch.
The only reason you found him is because he's the only guy left, and also
the whole game's hyping up some white-haired asshole that's like, I'm Luna Freya's brother or something. I don't know. And then he just dies off camera too. I'm like, why are you even a character? Didn't do anything.
Doesn't he? I thought he shows back up.
No.
I thought he. Well, doesn't he?
He just dies off camera, and he's dead forever. And you get his sword, I think, or something.
No, I thought you fight him
when you're in the shitty hallway section. He's just he's dead now. He might become like a demon boss for a second there, where it's not really him, but like demon him or something.
Yeah.
But it's still like he's not a character.
No.
Especially if the entire game you don't ever have to deal with him like one-on-one really, but then he dies and becomes like a demon, which means he's not him anyway. And then you fight that, and it's like, well, then why was the original person even a character that we had to develop as being an antagonist if the demon would fight me no matter who he was? Which is also what happens to the literal leader of the entire enemy kingdom. When you finally reach him, there's just some demon, and he looks like every other demon. You're like, oh, another demon to fight. It's like, well, that one used to be the king of whatever the fuck. I'm like, so? Like,
he's gonna die anyways.
I want an antagonist with motivations that I can relate to on some level, even if I don't agree with them, and then like that's why the story's happening.
Oh, so you want Sephiroth again?
I don't know Sephiroth. I haven't played 7.
Whatever, Seymour.
Seymour, at least I know what he wants.
Yeah, but I'm saying, like,
he really wants to fuck with you.
Square Enix has two options. It's either give you Sephiroth again, or give you some no name that you don't care about,
or Saren. Saren's great because he's the first contact with the Reapers, and he's like, "Oh fuck, we're fucked. I guess I'll have to side with them." And then, but like every time you go to any place that Saren was going to, you can see like he was researching how to like counteract or identify like mind control elements, and like all these different missions you go on through Mass Effect 1 are all about dealing with like various forms of indoctrination and stuff like that, because Saren himself is trying to fight off whether or not he's indoctrinated because he's afraid of that, and he thinks he's beaten it. And the big charm speech check you do at the end of the game is completely dependent on like you convincing him, by the way, you're fucking indoctrinated, you don't think you are, but that's the whole point. And like that kind of shit.
Yeah.
And like he's a character, he's an asshole, shitty bounty hunter Spectre asshole that killed tons of people with Anderson before the game happened, and like he's a piece of shit.
Yeah.
But like he's a character, he's a person with like motivations and a personality and shit.
Yeah, but
but whenever you get to the villain of most Final Fantasy games, they're now like a Megazord, and you got to punch the Megazord because he's ending the world. And I'm like,
yeah,
like that's like Type 0. You're fighting Type 0 is the plot of like Avatar. There's elemental animal kingdom things that are all facing off against each other to various extents, and one of them's the bad one. Of course, they're the fire one and shit like that. And they're the really aggressive one you gotta take down. And you go in and you take down the fire people, and the game's like, psych, it's not over yet. There's some guy named Sid, and he's basically got a nuke or something. You gotta go to Hell Dimension to fight Sid, and he's his Megazord now. And I'm like, who the fuck is Sid?
He's in every Final Fantasy game.
Well, that's not what I mean. I don't mean like, oh, what's a chocobo? I mean like, who the fuck is this character? I've never seen him before.
Well, he's been in hell.
The final boss of the game, and it's like it just comes out of left field all of a sudden.
Yeah,
just like how Final Fantasy 15, you go to fight the enemy kingdom, and it's like, JK, actually Arden's the Megazord this time.
I wonder if it's him. I would really like to be I would really be curious to know if it's maybe some kind of time constraint. Like what if Square Enix just like goes through a game and they go like, but see, it's not 80 hours. Yeah. So we need to like fluff it out a bit, and someone goes like, we can't do anything, boss. Like, you can make a new villain. And someone's like, that has no context to the story. 80 hours. That's our time limit. And it's like,
none of them are 80 hours either. Final Fantasy games are short by JRPG standards.
Yeah, I mean, well, it depends on how invested you are. But yeah, usually you can, if you don't care about side content, getting better weapons.
But even the side content's usually not that much.
No, 13 was a good, like, almost 80, 90 hours if you went through everything.
I think the only thing that, I guess...
And 10 was that way too. 10 was like, 14 hours? Or not 40, sorry. Was it like 45, 60 hours? I guess
what happens is you have to give into that one thing that I don't ever give into, which is the Chrono Trigger problem / I Am Setsuna problem that a lot of JRPGs happen, which is that there's like, we're hyperlinear and we'll never let you do anything else besides exactly what we want you to do for the entire game, all the way up until this one part right before the ending where suddenly it's like, what if you just suddenly defy all concepts of how this game works and just ignore going forward for like 40 hours of pointless grinding you don't actually need to do, because you could just beat the boss now anyway.
Yeah, but you could get the better weapons to beat the boss easier.
That's so much more work than just beating the boss.
But it's less fun.
The boss will be dead in 15 minutes, or I could spend 40 hours beating him. It's basically what it means to do the other shit.
I'm just saying, when you fight Sin with a giant lightning sword, it's really redeeming.
I hate that part of how a lot of JRPGs seem to handle side content too. It's like, put it in the game. in the whole game.
Yeah.
Just put all the side content in there. Like when
you want to like Dark Souls where it's just hanging off on the side of a ledge and you just gotta walk
the side
over?
content's just fucking everywhere. It's great. Like when you play your average like Western RPG open world game, you could just go find quests.
Oh, trust
immediately,
me. Yeah, I know.
That's just what you can spend your time doing. But if you want to have a more linear, focused narrative experience, my go-to favorite example is always Mass Effect 1. And what I love about Mass Effect 1 is that almost the entire game takes place on like 5 planets. And it's also, I believe, how KOTOR worked also and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And the idea is you go to a planet, and it's like a micro open world. And that there's a bunch of side quests there that specifically tie into selling that setting for you. Mm-hmm. Like learning more about that particular setting, and also they all inform each other. And sometimes they even affect elements of the main story mission you're trying to do. Like my go-to favorite one is Novaria.
Okay.
You land in Novaria, like, we're gonna take your weapons. Like, I'm a Spectre, bitch. And like, oh shit. And then they let you in. But then that, you see Red Dress Lady at the first place, and it's like, I might have a way for you. I might have some help for you, because you're trying to find Matriarch Benezia, and they have some sort of weird remote thing, but this is the only place you can land, but you can't get to the dock to leave on your Mako, so you're basically just trying to get through a dock this entire game.
Yeah.
Because the only place to land your ship is here, but you can't leave to get on your Mako unless you figure out how to get past all their security and shit. And that's just an open problem. It's like, how are you going to solve this? I don't know. And the answer is there's like 5, 6
there's random people.
There's just a bunch of different branching ways to solve this. And so that you're talking to everyone around this little Novaria base, and it's like, here's some Hanar that just wants you to smuggle goods.
Yeah.
And that's kind of a dead end, maybe. Or is it? Because if you turn him in to the other guy that actually runs this place, then that actually might be information that leads to you getting a pass. Or you can do jobs for that guy, and even though he's corrupt as shit, and that might maybe get you your pass. So you can go track down Saren and Benezia. Or you could work with Red Dress Lady to expose him as being corrupt and going into his secret files and breaking past the mercenaries and shit to get into the thing. And it's like, some of these are side quests that are dead ends that are just side quests, and some of these are things that are like the multiple branches that all go into dealing with the story thing that is why you're here. Yeah. And the same thing more or less happens in the second half of Novaria, which is when you go through the snow and you end up in the Rachni area. And now you're in another hub where shit's happening, where some stuff's optional and some stuff is alternate ways of doing a thing. And some people will live or die based on what you do. And it's like, oh, cool. An RPG. Yeah. Doing things. A lot of JRPGs are like a hallway where linear cutscenes happen. Or if it's not a hallway, it's an open area like I Am Setsuna, where you have to go to the next place next. And that's the only thing you can do besides random encounters. Yeah, like 13 did that with the when you're on the planet. Yeah. When you're on the other planet, you can like free roam, but free roam is basically get to this destination. Like, but then just completely out of fucking nowhere, it'll be like, now side content. And I'm like, that's not what this game is, though. Yeah. You can't just flip a switch all of a sudden. So, I hate how JRPGs handle that. So to answer your question, it's a very strong maybe that we'll play Kingdom Hearts in co-op. Yeah. Very strong maybe. It doesn't have co-op. Well, that's the first question to answer. There's no co-op in Kingdom Hearts. I guess single player games. It could be the idea of just, I think they meant 2 people talking. Yeah, either 2 people talking, or I think it meant 2 people talking, or just one of you play. It might be more bearable with the second person, but also I don't know if you want to go through a whole JRPG. But also you might literally not have time, because when we play the 2 Zero Escape games, that might be about how much time you have left to where you're still living locally. To where I'm still living in general. And if you have more time, we'll probably jam a Sonic game in there. Is there more? Just to pain you. What fucking more Sonic games are there? You've seen the list. I have like 15 more. We'll play Knuckles Chaotix if we have to. God. That was more answer than I really meant to give, but it was just kind of fun to talk about Final Fantasy X for a while, really. But as a general answer, the answer is always a maybe, and you'll almost never get a definite answer from asking us, will you play game X? Because we don't know. I specifically avoid what I used to do, and what sometimes Wander still does, and a few other people still do, which is they'll just say yes, but what they're really saying is they want to in many cases. Yeah, and that's not the same thing as a yes. No, and you're just making false promises. I've literally said I'm going to play a game tomorrow and been wrong. Yeah, it's my life. And I've been wrong about how my own tomorrow is going to go, because just there's some sort of change of schedule or something else comes up. I'm like, oh, well, we gotta do that. And like, just, the simple fact is that there's 1 billion games, And
there's new ones coming out every day.
New games are long, and we have to pick some to pick. And we again, people like me are already covering like maybe too much at once to begin with.
Yeah.
And even then it's too fast, to the point where now I have a daily series called Let's Try, where every single day I cover a different game, and every single day the comments say to play more of that game.
Yeah.
And I'm like, the whole point of this is that there's too many video games.
I mean, it would be more of a definitive yes if we were still doing like old school sad games.
Yeah.
Where we were doing it like
was hang out together the whole time.
Yeah, and we were doing it like almost daily.
Yeah.
Like then it's consistent. We got through games so much quicker because we would just be doing that all, like every day.
But also I shy in general more away from JRPGs because they are so padded. Basically.
Yeah.
Like they're full of arbitrary time wasty stuff.
Yeah, I mean, Kingdom Hearts is pretty bad about it too in some regard, because there's a lot of backtracking you have to do at some points.
And this is a hard distinction to be clear about,
especially when you get new keyblades, because there's a different dangle on the bottom.
The
so
different dangle.
Yeah, the keychain on the keyblade is different. So you have to like go back to different planets and use that to unlock certain stuff that you may need to progress. And it's like, I don't have the time. Just make it linear.
This is hard to explain to people because if you're too reductionist about it, any game can be all filler, and you can count as anything as being the dumb part of the game to cut out and stuff like that.
Yeah,
like some people, like in Kingdom Come Deliverance, when I read a book, people are like, "This is dumb. Don't even do this part," and stuff like that, and like that kind of stuff. But like in a standard RPG context, take it back to like D&D and stuff like that.
Oh boy,
you're on a quest, do a thing. And like you're going to unique locations and things are happening, and the DM has to come up with reasons for things to happen. Generally,
almost everything in a D&D campaign has a reason.
And what's cool about that is that it's an imaginary space, so it's like a self-moderating sort of pacing thing. Yeah. Where like sometimes the DM will just throw an encounter in there, but they themselves have the feeling of whether or not like this is like padding and overstuffed with like grinding and stuff like that. So like they'll be like, there might be a meaningless encounter in a dungeon that's just like you're midway through the dungeon. There were some orcs here.
Yeah.
Just to have happenstance stuff happen. But they know better than to keep like just wasting their players' time all the time.
Yeah.
And like Western RPGs are often generally better about a lot of this stuff because you go to a place and you talk to a dude and he's like, here's my problem. And you can choose to help them with said problem, which might involve killing some dudes. And like there's a structure to it all that kind of self-moderates against padding.
Okay,
the problem is a lot of JRPGs are more like Diablo.
Yeah, they want
where it's like longer, whoops, all padding.
Yeah,
it's just like
the longer it takes, the better.
You get like your quest in a JRPG is often literally to go over there and talk to that guy, and it's going to take you 2 hours because the entire way there is just going to be. Maybe you go into a cave with an incredibly minor navigational puzzle where you push a block or something. But usually it's just non-stop random encounters.
Yeah.
Like extra padding fights, one after
Final
another.
Fantasy is really bad about it.
Fights that are so incongruous to the story and what's happening and unimportant to the experience that they take place in seemingly a different dimension, separated by a weird transition. That's how pointless they are.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's both not as fun for me to play generally, but also isn't as good for playing in a series.
Because it ends up being content that isn't interesting to watch, except from
you just walk in the tall grass like billy, this does not matter at all. I'm just pressing the A.
And it does for people who care, who are watching just for the personality, and I get that. But for the person who, like for Keith or for myself, like anybody who's recording it, it's not fun because you feel
it's a twofold problem of like, wow, time to talk over the same fight where I fight 3 red slimes again.
Yeah. Great. And it's like, sure, I can come up with stuff to talk about, but like, I also don't want to do that.
But it's not just the part where it makes us like, it's also the part where it makes the series so long.
Yeah, it makes it a longer series.
And so little is happening in it.
Yeah.
And it's like,
you almost need to like mark the parts that are filler. So you say like, this is all grinding. Like
I've considered making abridged versions of JRPG playthroughs where you just skip to the next part where something happens. But that creates a new problem because if you're like me where you usually don't talk during cutscenes, then the only parts where stuff is happening is also the time where you can't do commentary.
Yeah.
Because it's like, it's literally just like when I played the Tales games, because I played Zestiria and Berseria. Zestiria and Berseria. I hate their naming scheme because just Wordaria.
Yeah.
Wordio.
It's something area. Daria.
Every chapter is go to the end of a dungeon and talk to the dude, and a story cutscene will happen. But the interim thing is like 5 consecutive maps of just nondescript green plains or whatever the zone is themed after with random monsters walking around in it.
Yeah.
And that's the game.
That is the game.
Without that, there's like almost not a game. And so many JRPGs are so all padding where like all the stuff I don't think is that good is the majority of the experience that you can't. It's like, how do you even find? It's like, it feels like a waste of time to even cover half the time. It's like, why even?
Yeah, I get that.
I just want to trim all the fat out, like, so bad. Which is why it's refreshing when I play, like, Lost Dimension and it's over in 20 episodes.
Yeah.
Because they're like, yeah, we just threw you into, like, XCOM missions the entire game. You know, like, pre-set up missions.
Yeah.
With a different environment each time and placed enemies. Go beat it.
Yeah.
And that was every mission. And then the game was over pretty fast because it wasn't full of 500 hours of infinite repeating bullshit.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, that's... Unfortunately, that, like I said, that is just the Square Enix issue, is that they live for that, and people love it, per se.
Whereas, by contrast, like, I'm playing Kingdom Come Deliverance, and it's like, I don't know, as you're fast traveling to the other town where you need to go do the next big thing that's happening, sometimes a bandit will be like, I'm gonna get you.
Yeah.
And you can be like, and, like, sometimes that happens, and sometimes it doesn't, and it's like once. Or 0 times.
Yeah.
And you can run away from them, and it's like, whatever. But in JRPGs, not only is it non-stop, it's mandatory.
Sometimes, yeah.
But it's like...
You can run from them, but...
Because you, generally speaking... no, it's not that you can't run from them or can run from them. Like in Tales games, you can see them in the map and you can avoid them.
Yeah, but you need them to level up.
Which I desperately try to avoid them because I'm running around them and like I'm trying to speed through the dungeon without even doing any fights if I can. But that just means that later on I'm going to have to turn on a podcast and just grind by running around in circles for 2 hours because you have to match... Your enemies are going up in level. You can even see what level they are. So you have to match their level. So whenever I play games like Tokyo Mirage Sessions or the Tales games, even though on camera I'm sprinting past as many encounters as I can so I can minimize the sheer grinding repetition of it, that just means hours of me monotonously doing extra time off camera that just inflates my schedule workload of just trying to just make the game allow me to continue.
Yeah.
Because it's not that I'm not smart enough to beat the game or I'm not prepared to beat the bosses. It's literally I haven't put the time in to make my numbers high enough.
And it's because you're trying to deliver quality content, not like not quantity, it's quality. And that's
so
like
not fun.
Yeah, and JRPGs are all about quantity.
Yeah.
It's like the more that you play in the game, the better it's supposed to be in their mind. And it's like, it's like in this mentality of like everyone only has $60 per year to spend. So when you buy a Square Enix game, that's all the games that you're buying that year.
Just hype people to like, oh man, Persona's 100 hours long. I can't wait. And I'm like, oh fuck.
Yeah.
Like at least Persona is super dialogue heavy and stuff. So I think it does something with that time. But it also totally does just have those dungeons where you just fight a bunch of dudes. Like I haven't played 5 because they threatened to destroy my livelihood if I did.
And Keith doesn't play games on his own.
Which is a weird experience. But I did play 4 on the treadmill back when I was not making nearly as much videos and I was searching for my job that I've now quit because YouTube took off. But I was playing Persona 4 on the treadmill, and yeah, like that when the game first takes the leash off and lets you play finally, instead of just literally shepherding you from encounter to encounter, you're just walking through a bunch of nondescript reddish hallways where enemies are just there.
Yep.
And like that's Persona 2 is just grinding in places that don't matter.
Yeah. I don't know. It's JRPGs are just they just are what they are, and they've been what they've been for so long now that like they're not going anywhere because it's a niche, or it's a genre that people like. It's that kind of grindy, long, that kind of thing just never goes away. And unfortunately, because games like Final Fantasy and Persona do so well, other people go like, hey, maybe that's not a bad idea, let's do that too, it makes money. But
I feel like the negative part spreads too. It's not just the fact that the fights themselves are a waste of your time and repetition for the sake of making a number bigger, both in your character and also just making the game look longer and more full of unique content.
Yeah.
But because the combat is so inconsequential and pointless, it feels like you're not doing a thing that matters in universe even.
I mean, it does disconnect you from the especially from the plot, because a lot of the plot tends to ride on this false sense of time, where like there's a god character and he's like and he's about to destroy the planet, and you're like, yeah, but I gotta kill this like 10th Cactar because he's like really important to getting this weapon, and it's like, well, hurry it up. There's a god character, and you're like, no, I'll be in there like 40 hours from now. And like
when I play
15 is the worst about it, though.
Oh yeah,
because you spend like literally days.
You ignore the story for a huge portion of the game, and the moment you start paying attention to the story again, everything happens all of a sudden.
I mean, like 15 does that thing though, where it has day and night cycles, so it makes less sense. Where at least like 10 or 13 take place in one day.
It's like a weird nether period.
Yeah, but like time doesn't move. But in 15, you're like, I'm just not going to go visit my wife for 2 months. Like, and you could just track the days, and it literally is just like, there's a week gone by, and you're like,
in fact, there's even a waiting function and stuff like that, I think.
Yeah, but like, you sit there and go like, how long is she going to wait for this wedding? I thought the wedding was like tomorrow.
Well, they blatantly made 2 different games in 15. They made an open world game that was actually like explicitly, admittedly based on Witcher 3. Like, they said that they played Witcher 3 when they were making 15, and that affected the development of the game.
Oh, that's not good.
And then there's a separate game, which is the usual Final Fantasy X and Final Fantasy 13 hallway simulator, where you just walk down hallways in a linear sequence,
and that's
and story happens at you.
That's like every main mission. Thing you do.
Every main mission also it usually almost always finds you just in a hallway all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Or you're playing a dungeon, but with the weird character that's with you now.
To
say, I'm story person. This is a story mission for reasons.
But like, yeah, because when we are on the train, it's a hallway.
But I just mean like these random encounters technically exist in Western RPGs to some extent.
Yeah.
But generally, the things you're fighting in the Western RPG exist in the context of the Western RPG's world, and they affect the story in some way.
Yeah.
Like, literally the moment you get recruited by Yuna, and you're like, I'm here with Waka and Kamari, and we're going to go on the Summoner's Pilgrimage and get Eidolons, Aeons they were called in that game, and something's going to happen. You walk 5 feet out there, and there's like, it's an orange flan, it's going to get you. I'm like, what the fuck is that? Nobody even acknowledges they exist outside of the fight.
Yeah.
And I'm like, doesn't matter we fight this? Like, what's happening? Whereas, like, in a Western RPG, it's like, that guy's a bandit. He's a local bandit. He steals from people. He's a brigand on the road. It's like, okay, I get what that is. It's like, I know, like, if I leave, there's even like a decision role-playing level of like, do I run from him, but then he's a problem for other people, or do I kill him? Like, obviously, it's just a simulation, and he just spawned.
Yeah.
But, like, there's an in-world context for his existence.
I guess it's like Pokemon, where Pokemon is like, even though Pokemon is on the sense of like, you encountered a wild animal, and it's like, yeah, I guess if I walked outside, there might be an animal or something.
But every 5 feet, there's another wild animal that's attacking you.
But the idea that literally, as a 15-year-old or 13-year-old child, like, you try walking to tall grass, and someone runs up and is like, hold your horses, get the fuck back here and get a Pokemon, because that's dangerous. And it's like, how do any of you get milk at the store? Like, this is ridiculous. There's, like, wild Pokemon that will attack you for no fucking reason.
Just spray repel all over all the gates.
Yeah, like everywhere, but people just tolerate it. Like, people just tolerate a cat, and people just punch their kneecaps when they're just walking through a forest to have a nice picnic. Like, this is absurd.
I wonder if they just have a sixth sense for Pokemon trainers. Like, there he is.
Yeah, like, it's just so baffling that you walk.
Except they can't. But not even that is necessarily the case. Yeah, because one of the games opens with like a professor being attacked.
Yeah.
By Pokemon. You're like, oh no, and you choose your Pokemon off of his belt.
Yeah.
As he's being like torn apart by like dog Pokemon or something.
A Houndoom, yeah.
Yeah.
Or something. But
like in Witcher 3, a more fantastical setting, like there are like literally basically dragon-like creatures here and there, and weird nightmare beasts just around the corner here and there. But you're playing a Witcher whose entire job is to deal with creatures, the supernatural monsters that are everywhere. And also all of the story missions and all the side missions are constantly putting you back in there. Like, oh, we got to deal with the drowners and stuff. There's been kids disappearing lately and shit like that. And then you're like, oh, I'm going to go track the tracks and go find the guys pestering this community. It's like, so when you find ones that aren't pointed at, you're not pointed to by a quest, you're like, well, yeah, they exist because every quest reminds me they exist. They're about that.
And the world acknowledges they exist. Like, that's the important part, is that the inhabitants of that world acknowledge that a drowner exists, because they say, like, hey, Witcher, there's drowners. Could you stop them? And you're like,
and it's a core
okay.
part of your character's story and why
Yeah.
you're playing the game.
Yeah, but at least like when you encounter a drowner and you know, like you don't question yourself, like, so people just know this exists but don't ever say anything. It's like, oh no, they do. They just stay the fuck away from it.
Yeah,
They're like,
it's actually,
okay.
like it's the world of the game, like nonstop.
Yeah.
It never goes away. Everyone's
Yeah.
dealing with the fucking monsters all the time.
And you'll run into villages that are just ransacked by monsters, and people are just like, yeah, monsters came through and it sucks. And it's
Yeah.
like, oh, so you guys are aware that this is not a good place to live.
You've seen Witcher 3, right?
Yeah.
Like, there are destroyed villages in that game.
Yeah.
You'll find a burned down, destroyed village that has like a ghost in the middle.
Yeah, it just has a monster in the middle, and you're like,
oh shit.
well.
And you even can there's even a mechanic where you can clear out certain areas and they'll rebuild the village there. And you're like, oh, look at that. I
didn't know that.
They went and built a village. It's
fun.
really janky. You'll clear out like a local monster and nobody will have even told you that there's even a quest there. And you kind of clear out a local thing and then suddenly there's a cutscene of people rebuilding a village there. And you're like, huh. I didn't even know I was doing that, but okay. But I mean, it's still, it at least makes sense, even if it's awkward as shit.
I mean, whatever. It's medieval times. People do stupid shit. But the idea is that
no one cares about flans.
Yeah. No one but people in Final Fantasy don't acknowledge the monsters 90% of the time.
They usually don't, no.
Yeah.
There's almost no acknowledgement. At most, there's like a really bare bones like bounty hunter quest where like, I want flan parts or something. And it's like, I'm like, but this still doesn't really like bring the flans into the story and why they're attacking me constantly or why it's the primary. Like the primary thing you do in the game shouldn't feel totally divorced from the actual story of the game.
It would be like
they're
if
separate.
It would be like if you're playing a game and you go to a butcher and he's like, hey, I need some pig parts. But it like isn't explained that the moment you walked outside, there's like literally giant boars like charging you in your car and trying to kill you, and you're like, so no one sees that as a problem at all. But but people acknowledge they exist, but they're not like, it has no impact on their lives other than like, hey, would you be willing to do this thing for me? And it's
I just want monsters to mean something.
Well, Keith, they mean something to you, and
like,
that's all that matters.
Like, what's really cool is that, like, in Witcher, you'll encounter a quest that's about dealing with some sort of, like this, like, woman that's, like, the spirit in the well or whatever the hell. And it's, like, there's a whole backstory for the person of what happened to them beforehand and how they died, like, all the story. And then
literally the ring.
And you're dealing with the ghost, and then there's follow-up for that. So then from that point on, every time you see another spirit like that, it kind of means more to you.
Yeah, because you're aware of its situation.
Yeah, because you're like, oh, those are more unique stories that maybe they're not being told to you, but they're there, and you're like, this means something to me now.
Yeah.
Or like when you're dealing with certain elements of Mass Effect, suddenly like when you're on a random side planet that's one of those shitty auto-generated ones, and Geth show up, you're like, oh, the Geth. I know why. I know what they do and why they're here and shit like that. But instead of giving any meaning like that, so that you can appreciate why enemies even exist, generally JRPGs will just be like, there's darkness. Darkness is happening.
Yeah.
The concept of what keeps happening in Berserion's Asteria is they talk about malevolence as just a force.
Oh.
And that's just like their hand wave of like all the monsters for the whole game. It's like, that's so not interesting. That's not an interesting game story to play through. It's like, there's malevolence making monsters everywhere, so there's just going to be random monsters everywhere forever, and that's
just
it.
Deal with it.
That's all the explanation we need. And I'm like, I mean, it's not a plot hole. It's just boring.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, like I said, JRPGs are just what they are and always will be, and Western RPGs will just always be a different breed. And I mean, there are, again, like Dark Souls and
that's why Dark Souls is so special.
What some other ones? There's a couple other Japanese made.
Because you're not a fan of the series, but like Dark Souls does not waste your time with its like enemy placement and world design stuff.
Okay, that's not factually true.
You might be mad about like the part where you die and reset and shit like that.
It does waste your time in some aspects. Like
you'll fight like 10 of an enemy like total in the game in many cases.
What? What do you
like
mean?
the actual enemy types and shit?
Oh, well,
you're not like, oh, I'm gonna fight random encounters with this guy every 10 minutes for the rest of the game.
Well, true. I mean, you'll find some sprinkled about here and there in different places too, just like recolored or reskinned some kind of enemies. 3 I've been playing through recently has been very notorious for that, where I've like, hey, it's the same priest guys in like 4 different zones. Cool, I'm glad to see you guys again.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, this one shoots ice, so he's blue. My bad. It's not the same as the other ones that are blue that shoot fire.
For me, the difference is it's more like Mega Man, in that you're playing a level with placed enemies, and they place there to serve a purpose. Usually for you playing through the level.
Yeah.
Like, you're playing through a traditional, like, classic video game campaign that has levels that end with bosses.
Well, yeah, I mean, all the enemies
and there's
exist.
Secrets here and there and shit like that. Whereas JRPGs are just like, here's my bag of holding of enemies.
Yeah.
And it's
JRPGs,
none of it fits anything.
Well, that's the thing, is like Dark Souls isn't about the grind, because like technically you can beat any boss at level 1 if you're willing to put in the time.
People sure do it.
Well, yeah, but I'm saying like that's the thing.
Nightmare people.
Like that's the thing about Dark Souls, is that the enemies aren't necessary to the cause of success. Whereas in JRPGs, you have to beat those enemies or you will not beat the game.
Yeah, you have a weird symbiotic relationship with enemies in JRPGs where they're basically your best friend and the most important thing you need in the game, and you wouldn't be able to beat it without them.
Yes.
Whereas in Dark Souls, they're enemies.
They're problems.
They want to kill you, and they're in your way.
And you can either take advantage of them being hostile towards you and make some mad money on them, or you can just ignore the fuck out of them forever. And it's quite the experience when you compare the two. But
that's a recurring issue, is that every time I play, whenever I find a Japanese RPG that I like, pretty much invariably people are just like, well, that's not a JRPG. I'm like, all right.
Well, sure. Good. I guess I still hate the genre.
I'm starting to think that maybe the genre is just full of bad stuff. Maybe it's just a bad practice, like how Western companies keep making like shooter looters.
Yeah.
Or like Like, I like the gameplay part of Destiny, which is just Halo, but I don't like the part that's like I don't like the part of Destiny that is Borderlands and Warframe.
Oh, yeah.
Where it's like, you're going to keep playing this really identical location over and over again, fighting the same guys over and over again.
But you have different dailies.
We're going to do it for 200 hours because you need to get the Void tokens to drop so that you can get your Megazord sword. So that you can then do that same loop again elsewhere again.
So you could do a raid at some point.
It's like,
and then you need to do that raid multiple times so you can get enough to buy the armor that lets you access the next raid. And it's fun. It's like
there's parts of the grading between no grind and all grind that are like, it starts off all Western, and then it goes all Japanese, and then it goes all Western again, and then it goes Spike Chunsoft. Which we didn't really address that when I brought them up earlier, but like games like Disgaea, or most games that I've seen by Spike Chunsoft, they're such a bummer.
Okay.
Because on one hand, you have like some crazy shit going on, like when Ubisoft decided they were going to make a Mario XCOM game, and they're like, we're going to add weird ass shit, like the ability to jump off people's heads and bounce on people, and like all that crazy shit in the middle of an XCOM universe, and slide attacks and jump attacks, and that weird shit. So Disgaea, for example, is filled with that shit. You can make a human tower of your own allies and then beat people with that tower. Like, like as a weapon, your tower of characters, you're just going like, ja, and then you do a long range attack against somebody by beating them with your giant sword of people.
All right.
Yeah. And you can also, and when the tower's long enough, you can do a fling attack, which is that you swing the entire tower and they let go of the top person, and you can fly him, you can literally like throw him to the other side of the map, and he can land over there. Like that kind of shit.
Okay.
That's some cool shit mechanics to have in your tactics game, right?
Yeah, that's really weird.
But it's also the game where you can grind your character and then prestige to after hitting max level to get to start over for some reason. I'm not even entirely sure why. But also you get a weapon, and the weapons have levels, but you can go into an item world inside of the weapon to play a dungeon inside of the weapon to level up the weapon. Because you can play entire dungeons of grinding just to level up in a particular weapon by being inside the weapon. But also that can prestige, and it's like the levels, the hundreds of layers of grinding that game has open to you, and also just the sheer repetition of the mega long campaign. I'm just like, oh man, I just want. Can I just have the mechanics and not?
That sounds awful.
The JRPG.
Yeah, that sounds real awful.
I just want the mechanics, not the JRPG. And that's so hard to find.
Yeah.
It's so hard to find a JRPG where it's just like, oh, check out these mechanics. And when we're done, when we're out of them, the game will end. It'll be over when we're out of ideas, like video games used to be.
Yeah. Like I said, I think it's just they're just stuck in a cycle of they have to like meet the demand of the audience, and the audience wants this weird existence of a game.
Which is what happened to Bethesda.
Yeah.
Bethesda got high on their own farts, basically, because every time anyone play any Elder Scrolls game, they'd be like, I played 300 hours. Like, I've heard that exact number so many times for Bethesda games.
It's a really small number.
People always specifically say 300 hours for Bethesda games, just over and over again. And so then in the future, when they're making like Fallout 4, like, well, we better make it 1 billion hours long.
Yeah, because people want to do that.
So it's got radiant quests.
Yeah.
And it's got randomized enemy placements. And nothing matters.
Yeah,
I mean, just a loop, and they literally.
Ironically, I think Bethesda keeps going down the more they keep listening to what their fans want.
It sucks. They need to stop listening to what anyone says, except me.
Because I'm saying, don't listen to people. That's what you should listen to.
They gave into everyone's worst tendencies and made them worse. Like one of the things you might do in a Fallout game is poke into every single building.
Yeah.
And explore every little thing, find some weird audio diaries, hack into the computer, find a weird gun and some ammo.
You build lore, you hang out, you scavenge, whatever, you just have fun.
But there was like a lot of hot garbage you would just leave behind.
Yeah.
Like that tomato. And shit like that. Or that duct tape.
Or scrap But
instead, in Fallout 4, they were like, what if we made the most asinine system ever that incentivizes the player to pick up literally everything in every building? Because it'll all get broken down into base components like adhesive and shit like that. And suddenly you're just scrounging through every building you can find to find like glue or tape or something that the game will call adhesive, so you can build a slightly different turret in your building that you don't actually care about because nothing happens there and you don't want to spend time there. And it's like, oh no, they made the most tedious part of the game more tedious by saying pick up 1 billion things for no reason. And they're just adding more loops that add more time to the game just because, instead of adding more stuff that's interesting to the game.
I mean, Bethesda's, at this point, their market strategy is, if we make a game that takes long enough, we don't have to make more games.
Yeah, I mean,
it's like
they probably haven't even started making a new Elder Scrolls game yet.
And the
last one came out 7 years ago.
No. The last one just came out on the Switch. Excuse you.
Yeah, we'll just port it again.
Port it again. That's the thing, Keith, because now another 300 hours and now a bunch of new people playing it for 300 hours. They don't have to make a game for like another 2 years.
I give the Dark Souls remaster shit sometimes mainly because they called it a remaster as opposed to just saying it's Dark Souls on Switch and stuff like that, which is fine. Like, just
they're also putting it on PC.
Yeah, but that's the dumb part. To some extent, like, fucking patch your broke ass game to not be broke ass at some point.
They can't.
Like, it's kind of dumb.
They don't remember their Steam password.
But like, while I give them shit, at least they made 3 other games.
Yeah,
they made Dark Souls 2. They made Dark Souls 3. They made Bloodborne. Fucking,
what have you done, Bethesda?
Elder Scrolls has just been on hold, and they're just like, no, what if we port it again? And what if we HDify and remaster it? And now what if it's VR? What if we remaster the VR one now, and now it's playable on your smart fridge?
Like,
and it's like,
let's be honest here.
Make a video game.
Well, Bethesda's been busy, like,
becoming Valve.
Yeah,
were they just not a developer anymore?
No, they're more of a publisher. Yeah. They want to, like, because they have the Doom franchise, they have the Wolfenstein franchise, they have don't they have Prey as well?
They have Prey.
They have Prey as well. Have Doom. They have
Wolfenstein. Yeah.
Prey, Wolf, Prey, Doom, Wolf.
They've gotten a lot better at publishing in that their library used to be the worst.
Yeah,
the library used to be Rogue Warrior, which was many considered to be the worst of that year, right? And
Rogue Warrior
and Wet.
Oh my god!
Remember how fun Wet was?
Jesus Christ!
And Brink.
Okay, Brink was definitely
didn't work out.
No, I wouldn't say it was like...
It's not exactly Wolfenstein, Doom, and Prey.
No, I mean, Brink wasn't wet, though. Like, fuck. Like, Bethesda's made trash. Like, we're not...
Is Prey Bethesda?
Yeah. Or no.
I can't remember. So
Who publishes that? I can't.
I'm trying to remember now.
I
Actually.
thought Bethesda published it.
I'm not as certain as I thought I was.
Me neither. I think the logo looks the same.
I can only
Arcane Studios is who made it.
Exactly. They make Dishonored and Prey, and I'm currently playing their Dark Messiah game right now.
I don't think they own Arcane Studios.
Well, yeah, but I mean,
No, whoever owns Arcane Studios, whoever publishes their shit.
it could be. I can't say it was Bethesda or 2K.
Who made Dishonored?
2K is the people that did BioShock.
Who made Dishonored? Or who published Dishonored?
I don't know.
Fuck.
The same people that published Prey, I think.
Yes, it is, and that's why I can't figure out who it is. Who did that?
Do you need help?
Yeah, could you look it up? You have a phone.
Do you need help? I have a phone. We also have all these computers around.
Well, I don't want to spin my chair around and knock my mic down. Just look it up.
Would you like to be featured in the Patreon blog? What does that mean?
Did they say that? You should say yes.
I'm like, what does that even mean? I'm scared.
Get my own money.
Let's see.
I think
Dishonored. This is the dumbest thing.
ZeniMax.
It's Bethesda.
Nice. Okay.
It's especially annoying if you're like, I already know the answer, you assholes. This is just a waste. This whole part of the podcast is a waste of my time.
I'm sorry.
Are you a JRPG?
Okay, what's the next question here from Colonel RPG is do you like cheese and marmalade sandwiches? Do you?
I've never.
Have you had marmalade before?
I'm trying to remember. Is marmalade the Australian thing or is it jelly?
I'm pretty sure it's jelly.
Is it jelly?
Yeah.
What's the Australian thing that people are like, oh, that thing only Australians eat, and everyone else is like, yeah. The weird spread thing?
I think that's also marmalade.
What? No, it's supposed to taste horrible for everyone,
Oh.
but the Australians are just used to it or something?
That's not marmalade.
Okay, so marmalade is just jelly. It's just not what anyone calls it besides...
Yeah. I think marmalade's like
our
a special type of jelly or something. It's not like jelly. It's like...
You gotta forgive him, he's international. I've never had cheese and marmalade.
I've never either. I would never buy marmalade. That would require me to go to like the store and pick out something that isn't obvious and easy to find, like jelly.
I mean, I've had peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, which I like, and
wait, I've never had jelly and cheese sandwiches.
Well, that's the point.
That sounds like shit.
Yeah, or like I'll always have the at all the breakfast places you go to, they'll always serve you the buttered toast, and I'll put the strawberry jam on it and stuff like that. Never mixed cheese and marmalade before.
Nope.
I don't really make sandwiches anymore. It doesn't come up.
I mean, I make...
Probably should, but it just doesn't.
Yeah.
I mostly used them as my lunch when I was working my other job.
You missed your lunch.
Well, that was a short question.
Yeah, that was easy.
I've had an interesting experience, speaking of Witcher, though. Mm-hmm. I just yesterday finished The Last Wish.
Okay.
Which is the first Witcher novel. Printed, I want to say in the 80s or something. I don't pay attention that closely to the stuff, I guess. What's been an interesting, weird surprise is that now I've experienced the very, very last piece of Witcher and the very, very first piece of Witcher.
Okay.
And they feel directly attached.
That's weird.
It's just a surprise. Like if I were to jump in where you are right now in One Piece, I'd be like, what the fuck is happening?
Yeah.
And like if... we talked before about the Ship of Theseus thing in Walking Dead of like it's like unrecognizable as a show between the casts of the first season and the most recent season because of what's happened over the course of it.
Yeah.
In Witcher, you're dealing with the fact that like your adopted daughter Ciri is being hunted down by the Wild Hunt, and like you have the real father of Ciri as like a big leader, a big political leader that you're dealing with, and also there's like Yennefer is like that black-haired witch character that's in the games that's like really the love interest character, and she's really important. You got Dandelion as your wacky sidekick bard character and stuff like that.
It's not your horse?
No, that's Roach.
Your horse is
your horse is Roach. Dandelion's the flamboyant bard guy.
Okay. Roach just seems like the wacky like side character.
So what surprised me is that like immediately it almost feels like The Last Wish is a video game adaptation. Like because I've read those before. Like I read the Resident Evil books as a kid.
Oh boy,
which are an adventure because they try to make the Resident Evil games make sense.
Yeah,
and they try real hard. But like they're talking about mechanical things in a story context and trying to make more sense of that and shit like that usually.
Like your pockets.
right off the bat in Last Wish, Geralt's just shouting move names from the game, basically.
What?
Like
he's like doing One Piece, like anime shit?
No, he's using signs. It's not vocalized by him literally in the world, but I mean, like, he's like, yeah, he uses the Quern signs that shield to this attack. And I'm like, holy shit, I know what he's talking about.
Oh, so you're like, oh, it's like they're actual moves from the game, but they're being written in the book as
in a weird
the name of the moves in the game,
which is the original form of fiction the thing was too.
Yeah, but it's just
like, what's interesting in play is that playing the game informs me about it actually informs me about the book, because they don't explain what these signs do.
Yeah.
He just uses signs, and I'm like, I actually know what all those do, because I did this not source material, because that's not how that works.
That's really weird. Why wouldn't they? Huh.
But what's been surprising is how familiar it is, because right off the bat, the very first book alone, like, not only is Yennefer in the most recent game, but dealing with, like, resolving the wish, like, there's like a blessing or a wish that binds you two together, and you're trying to figure out if you actually love each other or not, or if you're just being compelled to.
Wait, if you love who?
Yennefer.
Oh, okay.
But
I mean, why wouldn't you? She got some nice boobies.
That's the last wish.
Wait, that's the first book?
The first book, which is called The Last Wish, the titular last wish is the creation of the bond with Yennefer in the first place.
What? Wait, what?
So, like, the one of the final story arcs in the book deals with the big thing that you're resolving in the end of Witcher 3, and I'm like, holy shit, I didn't expect it to feel like I was literally playing the exact prequel to the game, as opposed to the thing that was like 7 pieces of media before the game.
That's insane.
Or like you encounter the thing where Emmer von Emrys, which is the real father of Ciri, you encounter his origin story, and also how Ciri is born in the first book. And you encounter Dandelion, and you have all the signs, and you have all these things going on. I'm like, it's shockingly familiar. It feels like I'm playing the book. It feels like I'm actually reading the book that takes place immediately before the game.
But it's Witcher 3.
Yeah, it's Witcher 3, but also it's the first of like 7 books.
Yeah.
Like there's all these books in between. I've been utterly shocked, but I think I kind of know what happened. Because I think how all of the Witcher books end is I think they ultimately do end in Geralt's death, and that's how he put a close on the whole series.
Makes sense, yeah.
But obviously he's alive in the games.
Yeah.
But the games take place chronologically after the books, so there's some kind of revival that happens. But for the first 2 games, Geralt doesn't have his memories. I think Witcher 2 ends with him regaining his memories, which helps them bring in new audience members, as it being like a jumping on point and everything, is by having the memories not be in the first 2 games, so they can just make up new stuff and just use the character in the world.
Yeah.
So it's his personality, his appearance, and the world, but none of the baggage, basically.
Okay.
And then they can sprinkle it in over time.
Because wasn't the writer of The Witcher like really salty about the games or something like that?
He saw them as a canonical continuation, and then he turned on them eventually, basically. But he's also like 70. So, like, you know, who at some point, just let him have it.
Just let him know, fine. Keith. This is why we have bad political decisions.
He has the opposite opinion of like the Metro guy, for example. The guy that made the Metro series is like so gung ho about like all these games and like and how they adapt his material. Like, yeah, let's do this, and the Witcher guy is like, no, it's mine. Like he gets miserly over time and just like clinging to the whole thing. But what happened? I think 2 is going to. I think the second game ends with at some point near the end with you getting your memories back.
Okay,
and then that's when suddenly. So I think in a weird sort of way, despite it being the first and last pieces of media, I think how they handled closure with this franchise, because Witcher 3 was kind of supposed to be the last one, but might not be the last one now. Is that I think Witcher 3 is literally written to be a sequel to the first book.
That's weird.
I think that's the point of it, is that's literally like to follow up on the concepts handled by the first book.
That's the weirdest thing ever.
Like, there's the Ciri thing first, where you literally see the beginning and ends of Ciri's storyline between the 2 things, but the biggest one is definitely just the fact that, like, you're dealing with Yennefer's wish. Like, the thing that is literally the name of the first book is the thing you're resolving as a major plot point in the last game.
Yeah.
After all this time, I'm like, this is... It's just a different experience. Like, so many games that are so many storylines that are chronological are so you have to see it in order to understand it.
Yeah.
So it's such a trip to play the very last thing and then being able to go to the beginning and be like, yeah, I'm following this. In fact, this just directly informs the last thing, which is all the weirder.
Yeah, that is. I mean, that's good though.
Yeah,
that's a really good
Basically, this is my actual
Handling
recommendation to the audience. If you liked Witcher 3, check out the books.
Yeah.
And maybe do what I do, because I started with Witcher 3, and I'm going to read all the books, and then maybe watch the show, too. There was a Polish show called The Hexer. That was the Witcher adaptation. But also, they're making a Netflix adaptation now.
Oh, delightful.
So I might watch that. But I think I'm gonna do Witcher 3 and the expansions, then read all the books, then other media, then start playing Witcher 1 and 2. And like go full loop, which will be the funny irony, because I will have played Witcher 3 where Geralt has his memories while me not having his memories. Then I'll play Witcher 1 and 2 where he doesn't have his memories when I have all the memories. So I'll know all the tragic things he's not picking up on or whatever the fuck. So
which I don't know. It sounds like an interesting way to play the game, more so than just normal. But I mean, it's not very often that happens. When it comes to media adaptation, it never goes that smoothly ever.
It's also it's a weird book. It's a really weird book.
I've never read it
because it's the first book, so having a weird device is already odd. But it's like a clip show,
huh?
Like I don't know how the other books are organized. The other ones might be a chronological telling of events, but this one's like a we're going to fill you in on everything book essentially. Okay. So like Geralt is wounded and he's at some kind of healing location, dealing with these priestesses and stuff like that, and his thoughts will basically take him to certain things, and then that'll be where you are for a chapter. And so you'll spend a chapter dealing with the Wish, or a chapter dealing with Dandelion, or a chapter dealing with the origin of Ciri, and like they're just completely separate.
Huh.
Where like the first side chapter explains why he's wounded in the first place, and it's just like a traditional Witcher hunt, but everything else is like origin story for the universe essentially, and the cast of characters. It's a
unique way to do it,
and that's the whole book. Like the main,
very unique way to do it.
Like it doesn't have a main plot.
Yeah,
the main plot is Geralt's recuperating, and there's a little fight at the end, and that's it.
Yeah,
but there's just like a bunch of separate stories happening, like an anthology. It feels like The Hobbit.
That's a really interesting way to start a world. It's to just like, well, this guy is just hanging out thinking, or like our main character here is recovering from an event. So let's just think about all the things that he knows based of this world. And
basically, it feels like The Hobbit, where like The Hobbit, they're on a journey, I guess, but really like here's the part with the trolls. And here's the part with the spiders or whatever, and they're just like
spiders in Lord of the Rings.
They're like infinitely rearrangeable chunks of the story that you just rearrange them anywhere you want, and it won't matter.
Yeah,
there was a spider forest, I believe.
It's in the Hobbit.
In the Hobbit,
it is in the Hobbit.
You're thinking of Shelob,
yes,
or the spider forest from Harry Potter.
No,
or the tenor singing spiders from Zenith.
No, definitely not those ones.
What, weren't those your favorite ones?
No,
weren't they brilliant?
No,
they're beautiful specimens.
What do we got from
What's up?
Robert Lansmer? Hi, I was wondering if you enjoy giving voices to characters in your LPs,
this one.
Or is it more something you do to make it easier for viewers or yourselves to distinguish the characters in the story? How do you decide what voice should go with what character? Okay.
That implies more thought than happens.
Yeah.
I think the decide part.
When it comes to deciding, I will admit I do think about it a little bit more than I probably need to sometimes, depending on the situation. If there are certain characters, just because some voices that I do require more effort than others, so I have to take into consideration like how often will I be speaking as this character? Or do I want to speak in this voice with this character this much amount of time?
Do I want to ruin my voice with the primary voice I choose to use for the entirety of Virtue's Last Reward?
I didn't know that he was not going to have a voice actor because everyone else had one. Even fucking 999 had a voice actor for Junpei.
Yeah, he got blindsided by the fact that the protagonist of Zero Escape doesn't have a voice actor for some reason, even though they did last game.
And so now he sounds like a great jock, but a really loud one with a nice little gruzzle in his throat.
You've ended up with the perfect voice for him, ultimately, because it fits perfectly with how dumb the protagonist sounds in all these games all the time.
Yes, but
they always have to repeat what other people say, but with a question mark, like they're an idiot, even though you're like a PhD student or something. I want to say
no, you're learning. to get or you're working.
You're almost
to get
a PhD student. Well, it does mean you're a PhD student. It just means that's what the student part means.
Well, whatever. In any case, it was a mistake, and I regret it every day of my life. But
when your voice was still recovering, you're like, I'm going to ruin it.
Yeah. But the point is that with voices, it comes down to the character, how much it would infuriate people to hear that voice on that character. And if that character talks a lot, and if the voice that I'm doing will hurt. I never use it as a way to, like, remember a character at all. Like, especially if I give someone a smoker voice, it's usually a character I just don't care about. It's a character I kind of just don't want to be deal with. I don't like.
Hey, Rocco.
Hey, Rocco, what do you want to do? You want to come over here tonight? Rocco, I made some hamburgers.
Thanks, Mr. Bughead.
Oh, gee, thanks, Mr. Bighead.
Don't remember any voices from that entire show besides the big heads.
Yeah, Rocco was like, it was like a really kind of nasally, like, it was like, Angie, thanks. Kind of like that, but a little bit more Australian sounding.
Did the turtle with the glasses have the stereotypical, like, OG's nerd voice?
Yeah. Yeah, he was just like, oh, come on, Rocco, gotta be careful there.
That sounds like the cow.
No, Heifer was he was like hey Rocco, what you doing?
You got the full memory down.
Yeah.
I can't remember the voices of anything besides like SpongeBob from being a kid.
But just on
that's
repeat.
A whole cast of instantly rememable voices.
Yeah, I mean everyone's just pretty easy to remember. I don't know. It's tough sometimes. The best example I can provide is like Valhalla. Valhalla has
the bartender game.
Way too many characters, and trying to do voices for all of them is like a mind-numbing experience because I don't remember shit about the voices I gave those characters.
Exactly, that's the problem for me.
And trying to like, especially a lot of them are like very pitch specific. So, say for instance, like I give one like a really high-pitched voice, and it's like, okay, this is fine. It's like, hey, how's it going there? And then immediately have to go to like, hey, how's it going? It's like, oh my, I've made poor decisions. I did not think these characters would interact with each other. I can't keep switching between these two voices. There's a lot that goes in. There's a reason that like when you watch a TV, there's a reason Chris Sabat is so impressive as a person. Is because he did like so many voices on Dragon Ball. And he was
all of them.
He was like all of them.
He was also the Spirit Bomb.
Probably was. He probably made the sound. Like, I don't know. But forget additional voices.
Because you don't want to credit as a character.
Yeah, you don't want to be credited as a Spirit Bomb.
He was the Spirit Bomb was like additional voices, including the Capsule Corp rocket. He was the thruster. It's like he's just voicing all the Foley is also
Jesus, that would have been like God, Chris Sabat would have made like been Dragon Ball at
Chris
that point.
Sabat as the Sensu Bean. Crunch.
At some point, I actually just want Chris Sabat to go through now and just like say the sound effects.
Sounds?
Yeah, but like I want him to just say them, like step, 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 open door, like creak. Goku, what are you doing? Slam door. It's did Piccolo just say he slammed the door? I don't get it. What is going on? But doing voices is there's a lot that goes into it, but also a lot that doesn't. Sometimes there's a lot of times where it's a very big tizzy of mistakes, and I wanted to be funny at the time. Like Lotus's voice is one that everyone fucking got mad about, and I just wanted to be funny at the time, and my bad for that. But you ain't gonna get anything better, Jesus.
I thought you were doing a funny voice, but you were actually a misogynist the whole time.
Or maybe Lotus is a dumb bitch.
Nothing can ever be funny.
Didn't someone actually make a comment about that?
What?
That was like me giving that voice was like...
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Yeah, you were absolutely accused of being misogynist for using a voice you hear in real life for a character that wasn't completely unsuitable.
It's called Valley Girl. Go look it up.
I get the criticism. Yeah, they're here.
Why do you think I know the voice?
We're there. That's where we live.
So I'm not being misogynistic. I'm blending in with my environment.
It's my people. It's my culture. Only we can say that.
Yeah, only we can do Valley Girl voices.
I do get the criticism of character is voiced, so the voice that you give it doesn't match the voice at all that they have, but they should fucking voice their game then.
Yeah.
Because I already get frustrated enough by like that shortcut that Japanese games take a lot. They're just like, we're only going to voice it a little bit.
Yeah.
But the only other time, like that reached peak levels of weird with Lost Odyssey. Is that the game? The JRPG game from the Xbox 360? Was it Lost Odyssey?
Yes, it was Lost Odyssey.
Where you would have like full CG pre-rendered cutscenes with full voice acting.
Yep.
Then you'd have guys jabber-mouthing at each other with full voice acting, where they're just standing there and pressing A.
Yeah.
Then you'd have people standing across from each other not with voice acting. Then you'd have silent novel sections all in the same game. And I'm like, funny how every Western RPG I play is just voice acted. Except for like the CRPGs that have zero voice acting.
Yeah.
Like even Elex, a game made by a AA company on like government grants, and they have to get it in under the gun and everything. Every random asshole is voiced every time you talk to them. So at some point I'm just like, what's your excuse, 999, to just not voice your game?
It's more expensive.
Yeah, so they just don't.
Yeah.
They just decide.
Unfortunately, voice acting
they've just globally accepted not fully voicing their games as an industry, specifically in Japan.
Voice acting in Japan is a actual job, where in America it's like for funsies.
It's for funsies?
It is for funsies. I like, people will say that there are like professional voice actors, and you're wrong.
Well, they are professional voice actors that are getting paid for it and everything.
Yeah, but they're not like in Japan there's an industry it's an industry that people have to fight about, like it's a beauty pageant to get into.
It's more of a real existing thing.
It's like being a musical artist, where no one could just pick up a guitar and be like, I'm a musician now, where anybody could just pick up a fucking mic and be a goddamn voice actor. Rooster Teeth, get out of the animes. And it's like, I fucking hate that shit. And you can argue like, well, they have the Halo thing and they're voice acting. Again, they just picked up a mic and did it. They're not professional voice actors. They're people who had a fucking microphone and didn't have any other way to make this story work, because they don't have literally voice, like Halo doesn't have like a voice box thing you can do. So, but they're not professionals. They're not actual professionals at this thing. They didn't take classes. They didn't go through any motions. They just went like, hey, Tommy, speak on the phone, and I'm going to record it over the microphone on my computer, and then we're just going to put it in the video. No one would do that ever. That's literally the worst, unprofessionalist shit ever. But that's...
I mean, there are professional voice actors in Western media.
They're professional.
Obviously.
Well, yeah, but again, they're usually like...
I understand you're trying to make, like...
The point I'm making
you're
is
making
that
a point that's technically true, but you're doing it in a completely untrue, like, exaggeration.
The best way to put it is that in America, voice actors
you're acknowledging that there's a super low barrier to entry, and there's a lot of indie stuff where they'll just call up, like, Jim Sterling and be like, you want to play our game? I've been asked to play characters and stuff before.
Why didn't you do it?
It's fear.
Why?
To an extent.
If you want business inquiries, ask me. I'll do any voice.
I'm always busy and afraid to deal with shit.
Nah, I'll do it. I'll do it for you on your behalf.
Somebody was like, can you voice my mod? And I was a little afraid to even look into it, because I was like, what if it's just like a weird garbage pile mess, and like I don't even want to start getting involved in this. I
will always gladly.
I keep busy, so I'm afraid of saying yes to work.
Okay, a more realistic example is that in America, voice actors are indie. Every one of them.
Trying to acknowledge
they're just indie artists. They're not like Green Day or like I'm not
trying to tell where you're going with this.
Okay,
I mean, they're unionized.
Well, it's not that. I'm saying that in comparison to, like, if you were to take...
Is your whole point just that they're freelance?
No, the whole point I'm making is that if you put Japanese voice actors and American voice actors into the same profession, is what they are. They're all of them are voice actors.
Yeah.
The American voice actors would be considered indie artists, and Japanese would be professional artists. Like, Japanese voice actors would be considered...
Japanese voice actors not freelance?
Yes and no. Some of them work for actual companies.
Are they literally hired by Capcom and they're like, I work here forever and I'll never work for anyone else?
No, they work for a company that Capcom commissions out, basically. So Capcom will say, hey, give us 3 voice actors from your place.
So they come together under like a voice acting company that gets
exactly
hired.
They're like Japanese voice actors aren't really like...
Do you know for a fact there's no voice acting companies in the United States?
There might be some. I think they're more like freelance companies where they're like, we will get jobs requested to us and you can take them if you so want. But normally with like in Japan, it's a little bit different where there's like that
definitely doesn't make you not professional though.
I'm not saying it doesn't make them. I'm not saying it's not making.
That's how my dad's job works.
Well, yeah, but I'm not saying they're not.
He only can just take the jobs as they come in, and that's how a lot of people's actual jobs are. Yeah. Period, and they're definitely professionals.
Well, no, I'm not saying that they're not professionals. I'm saying that they're not like
there just isn't.
They're not AAA quality professionals. They're like AA, single A quality professionals. They're not people like I don't want them to do work in stuff that I like because they're not good enough for it. And they never will be good enough for it because they don't have the resources.
That's where we're going with this.
No, it's and I'm not saying that it's not disparaging. It's like they don't have the resources that Japan offers their voice actors. There's so many more resources that they have access to that gives them that depth of quality. Like just even how companies record, they're doing their recording sessions are much more different in Japan than they are in America. And that level of quality is never met here because we suck at it. Because we don't take it as a serious profession. And as long as we don't continue to do so, the people that we have being voice actors will never be actual quality professional voice actors to me. And that's just...
I don't agree with any of this.
That's fine. You don't have to agree. I mean,
I've seen so...
this is literally the sub versus dub argument right now.
Well, yeah. Like, I've seen so much good American voice acting in general, and I'm not talking about anime. I'm just talking about period, obviously.
Just like cartoons or movies.
And also, I've seen so much terrible Japanese voice acting. Like just unbelievable, like not even acting. It's just people screaming lines at each other.
There are bad actors everywhere.
Yeah,
you can't.
It's like so there's nothing like AAA about these people. Like they're so good. It's like there's some really garbage Japanese voice actors that are doing shitty jobs.
There's always garbage in every industry. Yeah. I'm just saying. I'm just
like you're making such weird sweeping statements about both. I'm like obviously there's fantastic English voice actors.
They're fine. It's
it's like that's not even like a believable.
It'll be as dismissive as I can be because I really don't care for them. They're
makes no sense.
They're not like they're not enjoyable to listen to. I guess the best way to put it is because a lot of them are repetitious. You can hear the same shit. And granted, you can argue about that with Japanese ones, but
yes,
but
so much.
Yeah, but the problem you're noticing is one that a lot of them are speaking the same language and it's a language you don't understand, so you're not picking up on minor inflections here and there for certain types of words.
Yeah, which is why localization matters. Because hearing people speak a language you don't understand isn't really great for performances.
Then you get good and learn the language so you can experience
every language ever.
No, well, you can, I guess, if you want to.
Otherwise, every foreign film, you'll just never be able to get the right emotions out of it.
I don't really like to watch foreign films a lot. Because I mean, I don't know.
It mostly comes down to being a weeb conversation.
Yeah, it's just personal preference.
I've grown up from constantly listening to Japanese people scream in anime, so it's the only thing that makes me feel anymore.
No, actually, I grew up with a lot of American cartoons, and I hated a lot of them. Some of the ones that I liked actually have... Most of the voice actors that I like in old cartoons that I grew up watching are all dead now. So all of you newcomers are like the bane and cancer of my existence because you're not anywhere at that quality as they used to be. Except for that one guy who does...
eyes with camera.
Yeah, except for that...
As Troy Baker at home cries himself to sleep.
Except for that...
watching this.
Except for the one guy. I can't remember your name. The one guy I met who does the voice of Robotnik.
You literally just finished calling Chris Seibot or whatever a legend, and you're like, but also no one's good.
Well, I mean, I didn't... yeah, it's the same thing. The point is that I know I'm saying he's a legend because he did so much work in Dragon Ball unnecessarily because the industry had nothing to give. Like, they had no one to hire, so they had to just hire him multiple times. Like, he had to be multiple voices because they were like, no one else applied for the job. It's like, because we just don't take it seriously. But no, like the guy who does Robotnik's voice, he's an all-star. I love that guy. He's great.
He showed up in a thread recently on Twitter, which was just confusing.
Did he?
Yeah, he was talking to JonTron.
That's amazing.
He responded to something JonTron said, and they're like, "Who are you?" And there's like, "I'm the voice of Dr. Robotnik," and JonTron was just like, "This just raises additional questions." And his Twitter bio says that at the very least. I don't know if he's definitely him. I didn't look any further, but
it depends on which Robotnik he is.
That's definitely just a weird moment of like, okay, it's
because he could be the Sonic cartoon Robotnik, or he could be actual, or he could be like Sonic game Robotnik. They're two different Robotniks. The cartoon Robotnik is a great fucking Robotnik. That guy can hit a really good voice, and my only
Are all the cartoons the same Robotnik? Like all 5 shows?
No, there's 2 different Robotniks for the shows. There's one who there's the Robotnik who did Robotnik, not Eggman, because remember that's a distinction.
Were they voiced by different people?
Yes.
Oh, I thought they were just the same person.
So Robotnik was done by someone else, and Eggman was done by someone else. So yeah, it's just like a weird.
In my head, I just have a Robotnik voice. Period.
That's because that's the Eggman voice. That's the one you hear the most.
Yeah.
Yeah. Robotnik is a different person.
I only have one voice total.
Yeah.
For
Robotnik's the one that sounds
of the character.
He's the one that sounds like grainy, where he's like, "Get me, Sonic the Hedgehog." Like that's Robotnik.
I'll get you next time.
Yeah,
Gadget.
he sounds just like Claw from Inspector Gadget.
Did he sound like that during the Jaleel White cartoons? Is his name Jaleel White? What's his name?
I don't think so.
The guy that played Sonic in the cartoons.
Oh, Urkel?
Is it Jaleel White?
Oh, I think it is. Yeah, maybe you're right.
I'm not used to saying his name.
I just call him Urkel. Whatever.
It is easier.
Yeah. The guy who played Urkel. Yeah.
Was that
Sonic the Hedgehog?
Did they have Claw Robotnik back then?
Yeah. Yeah, they had Claw Robotnik.
All I can remember from back then is just the most infuriating, gut-wrenching sound, which was the voice of the chicken.
Oh, yes.
Or it's like, this is unwatchable.
That's a different.
I can't go back.
That's a different. That's a different cartoon technically.
But they're both Jaleel.
Yeah. Yes.
And they're both at the same time, which is confusing.
Yes.
They had 2
Sonic
at
shows
the
running
same
at the same time
cartoons, both starring the same voice actor for Jaleel for Sonic.
Yeah.
He wasn't voicing Jaleel White. I mean, he does
every day. But
yeah, one of them was they were in a weird abstract land that you can't even comprehend, where there was a tank tread robot with a drill for a nose for some reason and a chicken monster.
Hey, Robotnik, what's wrong with everything we're doing?
Yeah, and the other one was like they're freedom fighters.
Nothing's wrong with what we're doing. It's fine.
And there's a naked fox for some reason, and things were happening.
Naked fox.
There was a girl fox.
No, that's the different one.
Naked. No, she was the freedom fighter one.
The freedom fighter one's not the one with the bird and the drill nose.
The point of that sentence was that there was 2 different shows, and at the same time as the weird abstract one.
I didn't hear the part where you.
Yeah, I talked about the abstract one, and then there's the freedom fighter one, where for some reason there's a naked fox with a wig fighting in a guerrilla war.
The Prince of Mobius.
Well, she was female, so not Prince.
Wait, the fox. Oh, you're talking about Sally.
Sally?
Yeah, Sally.
Whatever. Yeah, the primary.
Sally
character.
she was the princess of Mobius.
It was a weird time.
Yeah, she was a princess.
Then they're like, get rid of this furry shit. We're gonna go to Selena, and he's gonna kiss a 6-foot tall woman. It's not gonna be weird.
Yeah, but I did meet the guy who did the Robotnik voice at an anime convention, and that was a mistake to do.
Why?
Because everyone else sucks as human beings.
Oh,
like because I wanted to ask him a question, which was like, what is I wanted to ask him what's his favorite voice to do out of all the voices he does. What is his favorite voice? And I couldn't because 7 people in front of me spent 5 minutes doing voice impressions of his Robotnik voice. And it was fantastic to keep hearing other people do a voice I enjoy poorly.
I've still never been to a convention.
Don't. They're a waste of time. Everyone involved in them, all the fucking rooms that they have for them, all of it's a fucking waste of time because they let plebeians in there and they ruin the whole damn thing. I went to an anime convention and had a bunch of people dressed up as Homestuck, and I was like, this is not even the same genre. Get the fuck out of here.
How dare you?
Well, it's just like...
Next, you're going to dress up as Tracer.
There were some video game people. I was like, what? This isn't... No, there was a whole group of people there that were like...
Some people just like to cosplay, right? And they're like, well, this is the convention that's local.
Do it elsewhere. When I go to an anime convention, I don't want someone dressed as like Ash from fucking.
Let's just say the real thing you want to say, which is when I go to an anime convention, I want it to be fucking empty.
Yes,
I would. Me,
I would.
I'm
love that.
Cartman in my theme park.
I would.
This is all here for me.
Honestly, if I want to go to an anime convention, I'd prefer to just go to the one in Japan, Comiket, which is great, which is a way better experience. Also, way more crowded.
I know a disproportionate number of people who go to anime conventions. Marty also goes to them.
I went to
and Wander goes to them. And Wander always talks about being a big fan of conventions, but I think he's also a bit of a biased source because he also literally monetarily profits off of going to conventions because they sell stuff at them. So it's like kind of a different experience. I'm just afraid of the giant crowds and sickness, and also waiting in line for what are kind of like commercials. I'm like, I don't understand why you go to a convention.
There was one of the booths at the convention I went to, this is like years ago.
Like, eventually it might be for work for me, but that's different.
Yeah, one of the booths I went to had a guy just doing Let's Playing.
Like, at the Let's Playing Live?
Yeah, yes, Let's Playing Live.
Oh, that's weird.
Best part is, like,
oh, that's weird.
I was walking past it because the panel I was going to for the Robotnik guy, it was like starting in 5 minutes. Or like 15 minutes, and so I was like passing by the booth, and I saw the door open. It was like, this is what Let's Playing is, and I was like, oh, this is interesting. So I kind of like walked in and just stood by the door, looking like a cool person. I have a movie where they're just like, I'm only here to make my presence known, kind of thing.
Was his advertising for him? Was he a tiny channel?
I don't know who he was.
I don't know.
But he spent the whole 15 minutes I was sitting there doing technical support problems because he couldn't get it to work. And I was dying.
Wow.
I knew what the problem was too. The problem was he
I'm not gonna tell him.
No, fuck him. It was hilarious. He's like sitting there. He was sitting there trying so hard. And there's like I think there's like 8 people in the room at most.
You're Satan.
It's great.
I actually know somebody who did a live Let's Play at a convention.
Really?
Yeah. You know him too.
Do I?
Yeah, it's Pernell and Matt.
Oh, did they? Well, it wasn't them that they were.
No, they have a video on their channel, which is them at some like small local convention, just doing a live thing.
That's weird.
Which is it's a trip because I think at the time they had like 80 subs or something like. It's
How did
like,
you not get invited to these? SAC Anime happens every year.
On the other side of the world. What?
SAC Anime happens every year.
I thought you were talking about the thing they were at.
Oh no, not there.
Yeah, they just decided to do that. Do you mean like how do I not get? Do you mean like by friends or something?
I don't know.
Or do you mean like officially?
Officially.
Why would I be invited officially to SAC Anime as a Let's Player?
That's where I found the guy doing Let's Playing.
Was he invited though?
Yeah.
Or did he just like pay his way in? I don't even know.
I can't imagine he paid his way in with no subs. I don't know.
The most I get is when like PR companies for video games will set out like questionnaires about whether or not people are going to PAX East or whatever. But definitely no conventions themselves are like, hey, come to our convention or something. No one's invited me to do anything.
You haven't been invited to RTX yet?
No.
You're not big enough.
Wander's getting to that point. He got because he was in Fairfield recently because he got invited by Bandai Namco to come to their headquarters there and talk to somebody about the future of Digimon as a franchise.
Oh, the game?
I think they meant Digimon in general.
Well, Bandai doesn't own Digimon.
They're apparently asking him questions about like what seasons people fall in and out of it at his demographic and stuff like that, and like things like about the show and
so they're asking for the game. Because they're going to add the monsters from those seasons.
But I just mean like it's just like that's crazy.
Weird.
That's you're straight up consultant at that point. And I'm like, that's scary power.
That's kind of weird. All I know is
how many people they ask.
To that guy who was doing Let's Plays in that convention center, I don't know if you ever figured it out, because when I came back out of my meeting with the Robotnik guy, he was still doing technical support. You forgot to put the monitor that was for the projector. You forgot to put it as the primary monitor, so your games were going onto your desktop monitor. That was your problem. If you just changed the priority, it would have gone over to the other monitor.
You're a bad person.
No, it was hilarious. He just really couldn't figure it out. He genuinely couldn't do it. And it was
Jesus.
And I felt like it would also be rude if I walked up there and just like shoved him off the chair and been like, "Look, you're being an idiot," and just like fixed it.
There was in betweens.
You
never literally skip directly to assault.
If I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna push this stupid banner down. I'm gonna be like, "Welcome to Sad Games. Enjoy." And
were you sad gamesing yet?
Yeah.
When was this?
Yeah, this was God, was this like 2000?
You just hijack his entire rig and take it home with you.
It's like 2000.
It's mine now. Yeah. I am the captain now.
I think it was like 2015.
Oh Jesus, not even long ago.
No, so I should have just taken it over and just been like, "This is Sad Games," and kicked them out and just like Marion. I probably would have just played a visual novel. That's anime enough, and people would have been like, "Hey, anime!"
Jesus.
And I would have been doing funny voices, and people would have loved me. But no, I didn't. I don't even know what game he was going to play either. That's like the most interesting part, is I don't know what he came to SAC Anime to play as a Let's Play. Like, I don't know. Dark Souls?
So anyway, to answer the question...
Yeah, to answer the question, voice acting is a bad career. Don't choose it if you live in America.
That's not the question.
Go to live
the question's not about the job.
Oh, what was it?
It was about us doing voices in our Let's Plays.
I do it because I'm not a professional Japanese voice actor, and you never will be either, English speaker.
So I do it for obvious reasons, because it's just that you have to... Like, you generally have to read the stuff to the audience.
Yeah.
And if you're doing that, it makes sense to try to make the voices for different people sound somewhat different so they can even follow what's going on. And also somewhat to help you follow along a little bit, because there's so much talking sometimes. And for me, it's tough because I have like limited range and also don't want to do really annoying shit. So that limits the range even more to a certain list of things you can do. And then also the problem of not being able to remember what people's voices were a lot of the time is a very real problem.
That's the hard one.
There's the one where it's like, oh, I haven't played this game for a week. And then there's also the one of like, oh, this character hasn't been around since the beginning of the game. And now we're back. I totally remember what they sounded like.
Yeah.
And that problem. Then there's the issue of female characters is a limitation of sorts.
What's your best female voice?
I don't know.
You should just speak in a higher pitch.
But Wander actually just brings Shell in as a reserve for female characters.
That's so fucking lazy.
She just voices the female people for him. I'm like, you son of a bitch! You got this tool belt female character just sitting around.
I mean, I don't call up Nate every time I got to do a female character. Be like, hey, speaking to the phone unprofessionally. Like,
so it's just all winging it.
It's just
pretty much just
so easy.
I pretty much make something up on the spot whenever a new character shows up, and usually they show up. If they show up 20 minutes later, I might make up something else on the spot because I already don't remember what they were. Jesus. So because you can't tell what characters are important sometimes.
Yeah,
especially if you're not playing like.
That was what I said before about doing a lot of voices. Is that like Valhalla was that way, where it's like I don't know who's going to show up ever and often, and if they talk to each other.
Like if you're playing a really obvious thing like a JRPG with a party of characters, and like there's your blue-haired water character, and there's your earth character, and like they're all walking around in a line behind you as you go around the open world. You're like, obviously these characters are going to stick around. Yeah, you're gonna have to name Isaac and Mia and Garrett and Ivan. They all need voices. Those are the Golden Sun characters, if I remember them correctly.
Oh,
you gotta have to know their voices, possibly. But other times it's like you're playing Zenith and you're like, I have no fucking clue which characters will show up in the future. Because like all throughout Zenith, I had no fucking clue which characters would come back, to the point where a random rat person I encountered and gave a voice to became like one of the main characters.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I guess I'm committing to this. And people really liked that voice, so it kind of worked out. And I gave it to Greg in Night in the Woods and stuff like that. But like, it's just a random. I rolled a nat 20 once.
I will say
that's the one time I had a developer compliment my voice acting.
Really?
Yeah.
He didn't like mine? I gave that rat such a good voice.
Did you make it to the rat?
Yeah.
I thought you got to give up like immediately in that game.
No, I made the rat.
Controls to work or something.
No, I suffered through a lot of it.
That rat's there a lot.
What was your voice for the rat? God, you can't even remember it.
I can kind of remember it, but I'm also just bad at on the spot. Like, let's just do a voice. I'm staring at you. Like that's always
fine, I won't look at you. No. Just do the damn voice for the rat.
I'm not comfortable enough with the whole concept to just like. It's like
was he just regular tone, or did you actually like?
No, it's like the nerd. It's like the weird like nerdy voice. I gave it to the rat. I gave it to Greg from Night in the Woods, and I gave it to the glasses guy in Owlboy.
Okay, huh.
It's just a reoccurring one, and it's probably changed slightly over time because I don't practice it, so it's not consistent.
Yeah,
so between each game, it probably morphed a little bit more.
I think the voice I gave the rat was like, I think it was like,
how's it going? What are you doing here?
Oh yeah, the one that's it sounds like you have wah-wah in your voice because it keeps going up and down in pitch.
Yep, that was the one I gave him because he was like, and I was like, hey, you're disgusting. I'm just gonna give you the weird, like sneaky. Like that weird, like gross character voice. Yeah, you know the character. You like every time you see a shady character, you're like, I don't really know about that guy. He's always like,
no, I'll tell you where the thing is. Just follow me.
And it's like, okay, but only because I have to.
It sounds like one of your Mother Russia Bleeds voices.
No, my Mother Russia police voices are bad. Those hurt more than Junpei's or the what's his face.
Like I'm just because the first thing you do is try to give a voice to something based on what it looks like.
Yeah,
and everyone looked grody as fuck in that game, so every voice came out grody as fuck.
What are you guys doing?
Until you were just ruining your voice.
I was like destroyed.
It wasn't even a long game because it was like really sparse dialogue and a short
I think it was
beat 'em
actually
up.
close to the same voice as like the
Yeah, how's it going?
I think that was your character.
Yeah, my character.
You're a bearded homeless man, something
Yeah.
like that. I think.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because again, it's a good shady, like, kind of gross person voice. Trying to think of what is another popular one. There's like,
What voices you do?
another popular voice I've done that is like actually pain, like is pain incarnate.
That is actually pain.
Yeah, because I have the smoker one, which everyone hates. I have the I don't know why everyone hates it. I really don't. I think it's like my funniest voice I can do. I don't know why everybody hates the smoker voice. It's also how my uncle talks, so that's rude, guys. It's true. That's where I learned it. My uncle talks. He's like, "Hey, Andrew, how's it going?" It's like that's how he actually talks. So yeah, that's where I learned to do it because I thought it was like the funniest voice. I've never heard a person talk.
Paradoxically, in the past, you've smoked to get rid of that voice. You were like kind of in that voice territory, and then went back to having your high voice by smoking.
Yeah,
like I'm like I don't understand how cigarettes work.
My throat just doesn't. It doesn't.
Are they magic?
No.
Are they secret magic?
I think my body is just broken. But yeah, I'm trying to think like because I have the smoker voice, I have that dumb nerdy voice. There's like another one that people.
I'm trying to think back to Samurai Warriors because that's when a lot of voices came out.
Yeah,
I'm a big fan of Sarcastic Old Man.
that's just because of how he read stuff in that game.
Yeah. Well, no, it's the sarcastic part's really important to why it's so great.
I'm just saying, like, because
it's just an old man voice, but with really big emphasis on like air quotes moments. But like what you'll do is you'll take the most important word of the plot usually and make that the sarcastic word.
We're going to the mall.
It's like, no, we're going to the mall. Like, I don't know why he's saying that sarcastically.
I think the other one I can do really well is the robot voice.
There's the robot voice, which is murder. Yes,
it's very well. It doesn't actually hurt. It's just like it's a time crunch.
That's the let's play some Tetris, motherfucker voice.
Yeah. Let's play some Tetris, motherfucker. That's the one that's on a time crunch because I can't start doing sentences like that or I start running out of oxygen.
So every sentence has to be short.
Yeah, the longer it goes on, the more failing it starts. It sounds like a computer dying.
It's getting quiet.
Yeah, it's like,
hey, how's it going? Today I went to the store, but eventually I'm starting to run out of oxygen now, so I have to speak a little bit faster.
So it's like the thing starts speeding up. Like it seems like you're pushing a volume slider on Microsoft Sam as you're like, this sentence is going a little too long. Go faster. Yeah. So if you have a mod and you need a smoker or a robot or
Andrew has infinite free time except for all the no free time he has. He'll make time unhealthily.
I've slept for 2 hours.
He'll just sleep
couple
less.
of days.
Hooray!
Yeah.
I don't know how you function as a person.
I haven't been actually, and
Hooray!
I've only been getting worse. But I have time to do mods and play Dark Souls 3. I don't have time for any of that, but I've been doing it.
I've been confused because you're like, I'm so busy. Also, here's my 6-hour Dark Souls 3 stream. I'm like, what are you doing?
I've been not sleeping so I can play more Dark Souls with other people because they enjoy it.
You're not even streaming it anymore, are you?
No.
You're just playing it with people.
I don't want to stream it because then I'm committed to keep playing it as long as as for a long period of time, and I'm too worried that like I'm going to just actually pass out one of these days, and I don't want to do it on stream.
And we'll just chronicle your death on Twitch.
Yeah, I would not like to do that. It's not advisable. That's how you get banned. I mean, you can't die on Twitch. They would.
That's the concern, is that they might ban you after you die.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to lose my account after I'm dead. Like,
it's my legacy.
yeah, it's my legacy.
There was 2 concurrent viewers yesterday.
Aw, it's true.
It's hard to get people to watch you on Twitch Live. Like
It's hard to get people to watch me on fucking YouTube too.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
But that's just again consistency.
I mean, Bird's been streaming multiple days a week for the last like several years, and I'll still log in and be like, "Yeah, there's 4 people today."
that's impressive.
It's like it's I don't even know how to grow a Twitch channel. It's so different from a YouTube channel inherently.
Although
we had a very low viewership stream.
Yeah.
Because we streamed Twilight Imperium, but it was Easter weekend.
Oh.
So instead of the usual, 50 people are watching, it's 15 people are watching.
Yeah.
10 people are watching. I'm like, God damn. Well,
everyone has family, I guess. Get rid of all of them. Watch more
stop
streams.
having family so you can have me. That's exactly 2 hours.
Yeah, that's about 2 hours of content. And okay, great. But the
great.
We're not going to get into that. So we'll do that
Does
next
he bring
week.
up another Catboy email?
Yeah. Well, at least it has no cat boys.
Thanks for watching. Like always, send your questions to SitAndDiscussQuestions@gmail.com. Is that correct? No. SitAndDiscussPodcast@gmail.com. It's in the description. Fucking use your powers of...
You're about to say use your brains.
Yeah.
You're about to be rude to these people.
Use your observation powers to do things and stuff.
Use your fucking brain.
And we'll maybe answer them. And by answer them, I mean we'll read them and then say other related shit that isn't answering your question for 30 minutes before being like, what was the question? And then
That's not
moving on
true
to
at
the next
all.
one.
We answered every question that was given to us. Except for marmalade and cheese, because we've never had it, so we can't really answer it. Except with a resounding no.
Yeah, I don't even know. What's the
No, you did
fucking
know.
Australian spread? I'm just going to ask the
Probably
internet.
called the Outback.
No, it's not. Here we go. We can do this. We can solve the mystery.
You can just type in marmalade
Australian
and figure it out.
spread.
What the fuck? Australian spread?
Vegemite.
That's
what I was thinking of.
That sounds like a material that I would use in an RPG to craft a weapon.
Yeah, I was thinking of Vegemite. That's how foreign.
Brave
That's how
heroes.
foreign the term marmalade is to me. That I was like, is it the Australian thing? Vegemite?
I'm just imagining like some old man in a quest. It's like, go heroes and get Vegemite for me so we may beat the evil that plagues this land. Seriously, I can do mod
We
voices.
must defeat the evil knight Vegemite.
Wow, what a shitty night. Sounds like a Dark Souls boss, though.
Just it's one of those ones, and he doesn't get a whole level in Shovel Knight. You just find him on the open world, and he fights you in a plane for no reason because you tripped or something. That's about the motivation they needed, right?
Well, yeah,
yeah.
That's when he fought the one guy.
Some of them are just like, you exist. We're fighting now.
What was his name?
Baz.
That's
one of them. Because he's like a weird
I gave him like a wrestler voice.
He's some sort of weird. He's some sort of weird community guy because he's also in. He was also in Dive Kick.
He is?
Yeah.
Oh.
Baz is he exists outside of those games.
That's weird.
He's just some sort of exterior thing. Yeah, Baz was one of the playable characters in Dive Kick when he played it.
Huh.
And he's also in Shovel Knight, and it's just it's about as weird as Shovel Knight showing up in every other indie game all the time.
Baz had a really good character development in Plague Knight.
He also shows up in Spectre Knight.
He does, but his Plague Knight character, his character arc is just top tier. Never gets better.
The writing is surprisingly one of the highlights of Shovel Knight.
Shovel Knight has some really
You never
good
would have
writing.
expected that.
No, because definitely the art is not.
See you guys next time. Subscribe to all of our channels. Buy our merch. Support us on Patreon. We don't have any merch, by the way. That was a joke. Maybe one day. I don't know. I need to develop a catchphrase. What's my catchphrase? I need a catchphrase so I can sell it on mugs. I don't have I literally don't have a thing to merchandise.
Yeah, you do.
I have the banner, and that's
Column or jointing.
Hexagons.
There's plenty you could merchandise.
I think part of it is that I can't bring myself to think as dumb as you have to think to merch stuff.
You have to be at a level where you say people are willing to buy this
because
you made that,
and also it has to be. It's so there's a weird element of self-involved conceitedness about the concept of even trying to sell a weird motto merch
because they're
some
in jokes or something. Yeah,
it's like how Rooster Teeth sold the shirt that said "People like grapes."
Oh, yeah.
And it's just somebody had to go through the whole process of thinking that was worth shirting and everything. And then other people bought it, which is why it's a thing that's known as a thing they did. And I'm like, I can't bring myself to take the mental steps involved in even going there with anything I've done.
I mean, honestly, you could just find there are good quotes you could find. You put Joe's quote on his shirt, which is This is how I get to work every day. That's a good quote.
That's just a loop-de-loop from
Yeah.
Sonic. Yeah.
Just
I was going to the total wrong quote. I'm like, how do you make a shirt out of I hope this guy didn't make his rent? Because that's the meanest thing he's ever said. Is when we played an indie game and Joe just comes out with, I hope this guy didn't make rent. I'm like,
I guess you could reword it a little. It's like
so much more real than all the things that Andrew said over the years.
no, it's not. Did
I want to burn your puppy? And then Joe's like, I hope he didn't make rent.
Wasn't there like a point where I step by step explained somebody to kill themselves?
Even that's too cartoonish.
I guess it
weirdly
was. Yeah.
Compared to just the very real. Like, I hope this money literally this cynical game literally did not make the money that he needed to function in society. Like directly, like the actual threat. I hope it happened.
Yeah.
Like, oh my goddamn, Joe.
It was justified. All right. What was that for Alchemy God? Alchemy God was trash. Like,
I don't remember what it was.
It was Alchemy God.
It was an Xbox Live indie game.
Yeah.
He's been around for a few of those, so it's hard to remember which ones.
It was Alchemy God.
I'll tell you what it wasn't. It wasn't the one where you jack off rockets, because he was into that one. Everyone had a good time with that one.
You mean jack off trees?
Into rockets.
Into rockets.
Yeah.
But he didn't jack off rockets. He jacked off trees into rockets, and then the rockets just flew away.
That was last year's April Fool's Day video for me.
What'd you do for this year? Nothing.
Did you not see this year's one?
No.
Oh.
I didn't notice.
That's your fault.
Oh. Oops.
Yeah, last year, because Persona 5 was coming out, and I already made the thumbnail and everything for the Persona 5 series, and I took a compilation of some of my favorite Xbox Live indie games that we found, made that into a combined video, and just put that as the thumbnail and video. It's like called it Let's Play Persona 5 Part 1. And they opened it up, this like 40-minute episode that's like normal length and everything, and it's a green hand jacking off a tree into a rocket, and like that one cartoon lady that's like stabbing zombies. Remember that?
Oh yeah.
Like those really dumb games that I love so much. Like that was the whole video, was shit like that, and it was like Shushimi.
Hey, Tsushimi was good.
Sushimi's great.
It's great.
That was the whole video. Yeah, this year's April's Fool's Day was I guess I could tell the story of how that happened because it was so hastily thrown together on my part.
Also, it's past, so you're not spoiling it.
Yeah, I literally just gone to. I was taking care of my my mom's pets, which means like, I have to go on my whole like drive and shit to deal with that. And literally while I'm there, I suddenly finally have an idea for an April Fool's Day thing.
Oh.
So I just text Bird a video to make, and he made it. And I'm like, all right. I was just like, I basically texted him a prompt of like, hey, can you make a quick video that's like a vlog about how you've bought out my channel and you're taking it over and now it's going to be 24/7 Zelda and stuff like that. And he went even further with like inventing this idea of like Whoops, which is that like it's actually what Game Grumps did a few years ago for a Let's Play, which I get to get on him again because I always make fun of Bert for stealing jokes to the point where every time he makes a joke, I literally trace back to like, well, this other guy made that joke before, and it's like he's not stealing the joke usually, but I was like, you're never original, Bird. It's like just a few years ago, Game Grumps did a joke video where they were like, we're finally playing that Zelda game you want us to play. We're finally playing Skyward Sword, but the camera was pointing at them instead of having gameplay footage, and it was just 10 minutes of.
Oh yeah, I
them
remember
play the
that.
game.
Yeah,
that's what Bird did. Is his joke. That's the part he made up for the video that I didn't tell him to do.
he just had a video.
He made up this idea of I recently through a bunch of money laundering schemes took over Keith's channel and stuff like that. And he talks about the new show we're going to be playing, and it's going to be just the new levels of interactivity with the audience, a whole new authentic experience, that kind of shit. And it's just the camera pointing at him while he's playing Zelda. And I'm like, oh, you stole a Game Grumps joke again. I can't wait to give him shit for this. I didn't even think about it just now. But he went above and beyond and made that video really quickly and made more jokes for it than I even intended for it. And last I checked, that had like 1,500 views and like 200 likes or something, and no dislikes. And it's like, like, damn, that was a well-received joke.
Wow, I guess that is
the thumbnail is the normal thumbnail, but it's also the anime eyes Photoshop I made of him as like in a framed picture in the thumbnail. and on the left side of the screen, where it's normally the fluted knight armor, and my head's decapitated off with a blood spatter, and replacing it is the birdcatcher head, and my head's like in a bloody pool in the corner of the screen.
Jesus.
And it's just caps lock, meet your new host. That was fun. I literally didn't do any work.
Yeah.
Well, I made the thumbnail.
Oh, you made thumbnail.
I was literally just like, I just texted him on Discord. I'm like, hey, I suddenly had an April Fool's joke in the middle of April's Fool's Day. There's a time crunch. And he just put out this 1 minute video that where he had to come up with stuff, and he pulled through.
Okay.
That was April Fool's Day this week. Last week I just uploaded old videos and pretended they were something that people wanted.
As we all do. As we all do.
Thanks for watching. Like always, guys. See you next time. Send emails to the place I said. It's also in the description. Blah, blah, blah. There was a SoundCloud if you don't like seeing us when this happens.
People say that a lot.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.